Hello!
Is that you, Modok? Is that you?
Welcome to the old MCU crew.
What is this goof? What is this goof? Bronze is over it. What is going on right now? What is this goof?
I'm getting spicy nostalgia, Jesse.
It's Jodok.
Why not JP Doc?
No, that sucks.
What? How does J Doc's not even my name?
Jodok.
That sounds like a Star Wars thing. This is eerily similar. I think this is how they got the face from Modok, is they used some OBS.
I hate this.
Fuckery.
The worst part is that your glasses make it uneven, but your mouth is like perfect. If you stay just like if you stay just like that, we're good. Don't move the entire time.
I don't like how much it's too high def. I need to like de-res it somehow to make it look better. Anyways,
bro,
I can't look at this dog shit because it reminds me too much of the dog shit from the
Ooh, down, bro. It's spicy today.
Spicy. Well, before we get to Quantumania review, there's some Marvel stuff as well outside of them releasing a big film.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we could start with the Jesse's Yaz, as they're referring to Kevin Feige. Basically came out last week and said that they're going to start slowing shit down. They're pumping things out too much. He spoke to Entertainment Weekly, and he said he was referring, I think it started or stemmed from a conversation about the Saturday Night Live sketch that was poking fun at how frequently the MCU was putting out series. The full quote is, "I do think one of the powerful aspects of being at Marvel Studios is having these films and shows hit the zeitgeist. It is harder to hit the zeitgeist when there's so much product out there and so much content, as they say, which is a word that I hate. But we want Marvel Studios and the MCU projects to really stand out and stand above. So people will see that as we get further into phase 5 and 6, the pace at which we're putting out Disney Plus shows will change so they each get a chance to shine." When he asked about spacing out releases of shows or releasing fewer shows a year, he responded, quote, "Both, I think."
They've already started. There's only 2 shows coming out this year.
Yeah, it's Loki and not Secret Wars. That's a film. What's the other one called? I'm blanking on the name.
Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion. Yeah. With
that's it. Everything else, Echo, all the other things that we were like, I wonder what the hell that's going to be, pushed to next year. And we're in February. They've already just decided, nah. So
3 films and 2 shows, I think.
Yeah, the 3 films, now 2 films are already on the books. It's going to happen. And now it's 2 shows. Yeah. And that's it. That's the rest of the year. And honestly, if it's good, fine. You know, it's just, it definitely is a step back from where they were like, we're putting out a ton of content. Get ready.
Right. Well, I wonder if you start to think like what the data-driven, the data that drove that decision is what I'm trying to say. Like, do they not necessarily see a drop when there is no longer a show that's constantly running on Disney Plus? And if they implement these like early releases for movies with like Black Panther, with Black Panther 2, does that get enough Disney Plus subscriptions where they don't necessarily need a new show always running or have overlap of 2 shows running?
I think number-wise, we saw that as the year went on, as 2022 went on, actually, you can even do 2021. From 2021 through 2022, every subsequent show had less and less viewers. I think it's just burnout. I think, like Star Wars, like poor Liam Neeson, everyone's just burnt out of Disneyfying everything and just pumping out so much content.
Sure.
And I think Kevin's right that it's content now. It's like, how much can we make? How much can we create something new to get people to go to Disney Plus, like do a thing? And, in a lot of it towards the end there was like not great. It was fun, but like not good in a way that I'm going to go back and rewatch it because it was hype as hell. Like, I'm going to definitely go back and check out Loki again before we get more Loki. You know what I mean? Like, that was cool. I want to know more. But everything else is kind of like, I don't need to see half the episodes of, Moon Knights. Half of those were throwaway.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to see any of Miss Marvel. Like, most of it is kind of like, I'm not going to go back and watch Hawkeye again. It's, I don't know.
Well, and to add on to that, I think it's also a matter of, and this is true of like, I think a lot of different industries versus like just, Marvel, I should say, is when everything's connected, it's almost overwhelming when stuff keeps coming out. I like to think of it as JP's gonna love this reference. I like to think of it as like Path of Exile season, where they keep adding content onto what's already there.
Oh, and
so if you ever fall behind, like, it's like daunting. Like, I tried to boot it up the other day and I was like, what is this? What is this? What is this? Because they don't ever, they just keep adding. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Path of Exile is a great game. But if you haven't played in a year and you try to jump in, you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
You have absolutely no clue.
And I think that what you're trying to say works even more so because Path of Exile has the added benefit of picking and choosing what makes it into the game, whereas Marvel is like everything. It's all there.
Everything's canon.
Yeah.
So when they start talking about multiverses and this, that, and the other, and some of that stuff, you really got to watch the shows to like really like understand who Kang is, right? Like, you really got to watch Loki to get that.
Dude,
you didn't watch Loki. I don't know how this movie fucking made sense to you. Like, I really don't know how it made sense.
At my showing, there were people in the audience who, they clearly didn't watch Loki because there were several points where they were like, "Wait, what?"
Dude,
especially during post credit, they were
I
like,
took it a step further. There was someone sitting next to me and goes, "Wait, I thought he died."
Yeah.
And so after that credit ended, I asked, I said, "Hey, did you?" I just straight up asked, like, "Yeah, so did you watch the show on Disney Plus?" And he goes, "He has a show on Disney Plus?" I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I noticed that too. Same thing in my theater. The things I was excited for were not the things other people were excited for. They were just confused.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, yeah, because I think people thought those were optional viewing. And if you're, an average MCU person that just enjoys it, that's a lot, man. That's a lot to watch all the TV shows, all the movies to have Ant-Man make sense. We're not even saying you got to watch all the movies to make Avengers make sense. We're saying have Ant-Man make sense. You have to watch the TV shows. Like,
right.
And then here's where it goes a step further. When you look at comic books, you have to read the supporting comic books in order for them to make sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here, it's worse than that because Loki has nothing to do with Ant-Man, and yet the Ant-Man film hinges on Loki's plot. So let's say you skipped Loki because you're like, I just don't really care for that character, but I love Ant-Man. Now you're fucked in the Ant-Man movie too. And when I stopped and thought about that, I was like, oh shit. Because I was noticing people's reaction in the movie theater I was in. I was like, I feel bad for them because I'm sure they skipped Loki thinking, well, I don't care for Loki, but I'm going to watch the Ant-Man stuff. And now that's ruined their Ant-Man movie. And so, and the only way they could have advertised that you need to watch that before Quantumania is by spoiling it. By spoiling it, hey, Loki's going to be important to Ant-Man.
The last episode,
so
yeah.
So that's I don't know. I think they need to start bubbling stuff and being like, these are the 5 heroes that their stuff depends on each other, and these are the 5 heroes that their stuff depends on each other.
They kind of did that in the past, where it's like, this is Marvel Cosmic, and this is like Earth Marvel, and this is like Magic
then Endgame
Marvel.
changed that.
Endgame was like fucked all that up.
Endgame changed that. Yeah.
But the thing,
and I think you really do got to parcel it.
Yeah, the thing I think they're hoping for is that with the ending of Ant-Man, it will inspire people to go back and like catch up.
Oh, I bet.
Is what they're hoping for.
I think it will.
But yeah, Bronze. There were clearly people in my audience who watched the Disney Plus shows because they reacted to things, and then other people simply didn't. And then some people reacted to things that they were like shocked, and other people were like, "Yep, knew that was going to happen."
Yeah.
So very interesting.
Yeah, I think
one of the post-credit scenes.
Well, hold on. We're not talking about the movie.
Yeah,
we're talking about less Disney Plus shows.
There was like someone shocked that Loki's alive, and if you haven't seen the I was like, but there's a Loki show.
Yeah.
So I was like confused. Where I was like, did they not know that there's a TV? Because there was somebody that was like, he's alive, and I was like, girl, there's a whole show.
Yeah.
Like,
He's
been alive.
The other thing that I hope with fewer, I hope, and I think I said something similar last week. I hope with less Disney Plus shows, that means the quality goes up or the length goes up of the shows. And I don't know if that's true, but I really do hope it is.
I must stress this. I want to let you know that that is, I think, part of. I read an article about all the changes before I messaged you guys like, oh boy, look at this.
Yeah.
In the article, they were talking about how a lot of the decision was also because they want to take time to get the visual effects right. And even though we're not quite at talking about Ant-Man yet, the note I've had, and I think we've had all along, is that the visual effects in the last 3, 4, 5 years, ever since we'll say 2019. Since 2019, we'll give it 4 years. Since the end of Endgame, the visual effects, like, there's a thing that Marvel does that angers me so much, and it's always bad. It's bad in Ant-Man. It was bad in Endgame, and they keep doing it. It's a visual effect where it's if a giant something is holding a person, the person is very clearly on a green screen, and the CG hand is like moving, and you can see them like tracking the person in the hand. It never looks good.
Yeah.
It always looks fake. It's always looked fake every time they've done it, and it's outrageous they still continue to do it that way. And I have to be like, you guys have more money than God. How is it you can't nail this one thing? If you can't do it, don't do the scene.
It's one of the things where I think it's just time. I mean, if you look at like Avatar 2, the reason that took so long to make was because it took for fucking ever to do the actual CG work. If you go watch, there's a YouTube channel, I forget what it is. It's like VFX thing, VFX focus channel, and they had someone who's in charge of VFX on that film, and it was fucking fascinating to watch how crazy they are with that stuff and how much I really think all of that would work very well in a Marvel thing. Comes down to money at that point. But Corridor Crew, that's the visual effects React thing. It's awesome if you haven't seen that. There's a whole scene, I haven't seen Avatar 2 yet, but in the trailer where he's fastening the leather. Have you guys seen the movie or the trailer for Avatar 2?
I've seen the movie, yeah.
Bronze, have you seen it or not?
I've seen the trailer.
Remember in the trailer, or in Jesse in the film, where he's fastening the leather thing onto his hand when he's about to like ride some animal?
Sure, and it's all CG. Yeah.
The only thing that's real in that is the leather and the hand in the very center of the image. Everything else is CG. And they go into like crazy amount of depth to how they do that. And it makes sense that a film took that long to make. And then you look at what Marvel's doing, and it looks like a fucking 3 third graders' homework compared to like professional.
Again, it's I made a note. And I'm just going to say the note now. The list of credits for VFX is huge, almost as big as Avatar. And all I'm saying is, if that's the case, it is time. It is like either the people who are like the top tier people making digital effects are like F Disney, we're not working with them, or they don't have enough time. Either way, yeah, there's moments where you're like, in all Marvel properties, there are moments where the FX looks perfectly fine and awesome, and you're like, that was a cool scene. And there's moments where you're like, holy shit, this is like the end of Black Widow all over again. Like, that looks terrible.
Jesse, what do you mean?
You know,
put your mask back on, man. It look cooler.
I think it is a time thing because I was watching a video about how they did everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, no, they've burned people out and burned a lot of bridges and burned a lot of goodwill too. Because one thing I found is when people are excited to work on something, and sorry, my whole camera's shaking because my cat's going crazy.
You're good.
But if people are excited to work on something and want to work on something, they will try to find a way, or they'll invest themselves more in like figuring out, suggesting ways to make it look good. But I feel like if people are tired, overworked, underpaid, and just not very into it, then what you end up getting is, good enough to get paid. And like, that's it.
Sure, yeah. And I hope time solves that. I hope these next two things, and even the movies. I mean, when you're doing the shows, those same people are working on the films, right? So it affects everything within that. So hopefully this delay and kind of reeling back of quote unquote content coming out from Disney Plus and from Marvel is a good thing. I hope so.
And it goes to show, like, go back if you have Disney Plus and you have free time, go back, watch WandaVision, watch Loki. Those two shows, the visual effects are awesome. They're really well done, but it's because they had a huge lead up to them.
Yeah.
They had a long time before those shows came out. And then it's like, we're pumping. Because the next show was a show they had to redo halfway through.
Right.
And so that was kind of all over the place.
And it didn't really have that much CG work to begin with, I guess.
Right, but I'm sure there was a lot of special effects when it came to like the bow tricks and different things and the giant Pimbo and things. Like there were things that happened that was like, oh, that's cool. But, it was kind of all over the place. But after that point, it was like...
They just pumped it, yeah.
Rush, yeah. And that kind of sucks.
I agree. Not the only time we're going to bring up James Cameron, by the way, this week with Avatar 2. Did you see what James Cameron said? He was talking to Time in an interview with Time. He's talking about the CGI work on his latest film, and he said he had an interesting personal connection to Josh Brolin's Thanos. The full quote is, quote, "I can relate to Thanos. I thought he had a pretty viable answer. The problem is nobody's going to put up their hand to volunteer to be the half that has to go."
He really is the dude that has the Thanos was right mug. He really is that guy. It's like, yeah, he's got a valid point.
Are you fucking kidding me? There's people that truly feel that way?
Oh, there very much is. Yes.
I don't know if that's like the way that it's presented in this article is very much maybe out of context, but the fact that that's just the quote that's presented, I think is fucking hilarious.
I think James Cameron's on that like ecological vibe where he's just like, look, if there were half as many everything, the world would be better off. I think that's what he's trying to say.
Yeah, maybe.
But like he's like, but no one's gonna give up their lives in order to make it better. So it's not a real thing. I think that's what he's getting at, but like
James Cameron to me seems like, and I say this like trying not to be mean to the guy, but he does seem like his brain only answers very simple questions and then never thinks about, because even leading it up to Avatar, I remember him saying, oh, well, when I made this movie, I really wanted to show, like, because if the Native Americans knew what was at stake, they probably would have like fought harder instead of giving up. Jeez. And I was like,
yeah.
I didn't know that quote existed.
Okay, so you're fucking stupid. Like I think he oversimplifies. It's like, you know how like we always say like just don't die, forehead. That's James Cameron. Like just don't be genocided, forehead.
James
Just fight
Cameron is
harder,
definitely
forehead.
he's very much a person that is like, let's
Just
throw
kill
money at
half
all of
the
our problems.
population.
He throws money at
just
the
kill half
problems.
the population, forehead. Just volunteer to
There is
die,
a,
forehead.
Yeah.
There's a clip.
It's like too simple of a solution.
I don't know what the clip is called, but it's Mark Maron regaling an audience with the story of the time he went to go audition for the Avatar sequels.
Yeah.
And there's a role that he was up for, and it's him talking about going to go to like James Cameron's giant Long Beach facility. And it's one of the funniest things in the world because it sounds like another planet. It sounds like James Cameron is like, I have more money than anyone.
Yeah, he exists in Moneyland.
Like a James Cameron amusement park. And he's just like in his own world, doing his own thing. He's like, when I was there were people flying around on like high wires and stuff. He's like, yeah,
bro,
he has a
the
museum
film stuff
to
is
himself.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can imagine he's kind of in his own world.
Yeah. He does some insane stuff when it comes to that.
They have, like I said, they have overly simple solution to things because they've never actually had to like sit and solve a problem, like with limited resources. And I worked for somebody like this for a limited period of time when I worked at a hedge fund, and they are unhinged.
They just throw money at problems.
Point,
yeah.
Well, even the opposite. At one point, I was looking into getting us employee-based health or employer-based healthcare, right? Like insurance. And in the middle of a meeting, this man says, "What if instead of like subsidizing insurance, I pay for you all to get a $600 Whole Foods gift card every month and a bike. And that way, if you ride your bike to work and you eat organic food, you won't need, because traditional medicine, they're just pumping you full of poison anyway." And I say, "Sir, what happens if I'm riding my bike to work and I get hit by a car?" And he said, "Jasmine, I don't think that's going to happen."
Yeah.
And I was like, in my mind, I was like, okay, so this man's fucking stupid and he's richer than I'll ever be. But, but like that's in my mind what James Cameron is like, where he's like, what if everybody just, and it's like, but have you thought of the actual like cascade effect? Like there's still problems with this solution. And they're just like, no, I don't think that's a thing. Okay.
Maybe so.
It is absolutely Glass Onion. 100%.
Yeah.
Like go watch that movie. Absolutely.
He did actually talk, to tie this back into the visual effects conversation. He was asked, or rather, I think just talking about Marvel. It says, obviously the big comic book films have been driving the sheer volume of the industry. The rising tide of technique raises everybody together. It gives you higher quality artists, more tools and plugins and code to use. You got more talented people writing code out there. Our team at Weta Digital is constantly having new hires, and it's coming out of that pool. So it improves everything. That said, Weta FX, as it is called now, is the best, right? Industrial Light Magic does great work, but when it comes to that kind of emotive facial stuff that we're doing, Thanos, come on, give me a break. You saw Avatar: Way of the Water. It's not even close. It's what Weta did. So
I will say,
Weta
is always given the time to work.
Yes.
That's why Weta shit looks so good.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, look at Lord of the Rings. It still looks good.
It still holds up. It's fucking practical as hell, and all that stuff works
looks
great.
Good, and that's in large part due to Weta. They did a really good job on their part of it.
Yeah.
The difference is, go look at the timetable between the original trilogy and The Hobbit. The Hobbit was so pushed up. You can see the difference. You can see, The Hobbit is 10 years later, doesn't hold up as well.
Yeah. I love that, by the way, this article goes on. The ending bullet point of this article on thedirect.com about James Cameron's Thanos depopulation plan. Supporting Thanos' depopulation strategy. Usually the Thanos was right movement is a joke, but it seems Cameron has found some validity in it. His sentiments aren't too surprising given his support of environmental and climate activism. After all, those are all pillars of his Avatar franchise as a whole, though genocide on a galactic level doesn't usually come up. Just like, what are these fucking
I'm just done.
James
I'm
Cameron
just-
really like
That's so funny.
sits at home with a Thanos glove on. He's like, if I could just change reality, make it better. Like, I feel
Maybe.
like he does. I feel like he has a room
I don't know,
that
man.
has like a window.
That meme.
He's-
Remember during the lockdown, there was people like 12-year-olds on TikTok that were like, humanity was the virus.
Yes.
Nature is healing.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cameron has the thinking of a 12-year-old girl on TikTok. Like, nature is healing, humanity is the virus. Like, dude, people are dying, James. Stop.
He's worried about the Earth, though, Bronze. You know, the Earth. Then everyone dies. If we don't stop half the population, he's collecting the Infinity Stones right now. That's what he's doing. He's building the gauntlet. They put out a Marvels poster. Did you guys see this?
I did see that. It's it is a poster. It's simple.
I think it's a pretty
gets
badass
the
poster,
point.
to be honest.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I
not
think-
like too flashy. It's exactly what you would think it would be.
It's nice to see that we don't have like Brie Larson taking up center image, looking off to the right with like,
Yes,
you know, the other two characters looking off different directions, but smaller because they're smaller. And like this just is cool. I like
that it plays with the negative space. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. It isn't just, you're right. It isn't the same Marvel where it's like, and then the one person's in the background, they're like really big and like, and then the one like little tiny character in the front. Yeah, I'm fine with the fact that it's like, yeah, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's these three and they're going to space.
I guess they
That's
have
the
their
movie.
symbols as well. Like that's the Captain Marvel symbol. That's the photon symbol. And then Miss Marvel down below in a new outfit, by the way. You have to zoom in. She's wearing a new outfit for Miss Marvel. For those that
Looks the same.
No, it's new. It's definitely a lot.
It's
Dude, do you remember
More
what that,
red.
remember what that looked like in the Miss Marvel show? It didn't
It was
look great.
ugly.
More red.
It
it's
looked
got a whole
fucking
bunch of
trash.
stuff going on.
Fucking,
This looks
it
a
was
lot better.
fucking ugly.
Yes.
And I'll say that with my whole chest because I've cosplayed Miss Marvel from the comics. And when I saw that ugly piece of shit, I was like, why did my cosplay look better?
Yeah, let me the one from the show here, I could just pull this up right here. So this is from the new movie, okay? This is the one from the show. It's super zoomed in, but that's the one from the show. Has a lot of blue in it.
Damn, that looks.
It looks
fucking
real
bad.
rough. Yeah, I think the new one looks a lot
know-
better.
You know what's interesting about this is I wonder what her costume would look like if they didn't have to do the Marvel uniform. Have you watched the documentary about how they make all of the Marvel costumes? Every
Oh, yeah.
top is like if you go back to her costume there, she's wearing the arms bit is part of an entire separate piece. And then she's all microphoned up underneath that.
So does
and then
it
the
connect
chest
it
piece-
arms or something right
yeah,
here?
no. There's a whole other thing. The arms are like a whole other suit underneath. And then the chest piece is applied over top of all the microphones and shit. And every Marvel character has that. That's why all their outfits, from Captain America to like everyone except for Iron Man, because he's CG stuff. But like every single one has that like chest piece. And so it's a template for all their outfits. And that's why they all kind of have this like big chest piece and then like a line here and then arms every single time. And I'm really curious.
Is that
what
on
they're gonna
Disney
do.
Plus?
Maybe that's where I watched it. It might have been a YouTube, like it was included in a Blu-ray. But a great example is Captain America. The reason why most of his stuff has the leather straps here is because the leather straps are covering
They're
the
hiding
chest
the
piece.
seam.
Yeah. And so they have this template that they make with all of their outfits. And super interesting, but it's also like, all right, after a while, they're all starting to look kind of the same, right?
Sure.
It's the
I
reason
think
why
for me, part of why her costume doesn't work is
looks so much better. Holy shit.
doesn't it does look a bit better. I think like the reason her costume doesn't work in my mind is I don't understand a reason behind it, right? Like a costume should have a narrative. Do you know
gotta
what
sell
I
new
mean?
toys.
Like Captain America's costume being flashy makes sense given the context that character was used to sell war bonds. Like, is very much a character, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there needs to be some thought process behind, like, why does she wear a salwar kameez? Like, why does she wear that? And why does it look super spacey? Like, if she got that made in Pakistan, why does no piece of it look like it was made in Pakistan?
She probably didn't
like, isn't that
because
the
at the end of the
story in the
series, she
show?
warps to space.
But
Right?
okay, so then what is it? Kree technology, and then why do they keep that same silhouette? Like
Great
that's
question.
because they've done futuristic or future versions of Miss Marvel in the comics where she's in a full bodysuit instead of in the salwar kameez because she's been to space and stuff like that, and she's had a suit engineered by the Avengers. That original silhouette makes sense when you think of it in the context of like that is a burkini. That is the swimsuit that her parents allow her to go swimming in. So because of that, it's stretchy enough for her. And then with that in mind, it's like, okay, so this makes sense for that, why it looks like that. But for her to continue to have the cape and stuff moving forward, it's just, and they make it look spacey. There's just something discordant about it for me where I'm like, it doesn't make sense. Like,
Sure.
I don't understand what the rationale is, you know?
Yeah. I also wonder,
confusing.
I wonder if we get that in the film, right? Like if they give any screen time as to why she has a new outfit. If it's provided by
Maybe
like
they
Kree
spent
or
30
what.
seconds on it in the show. It was literally her mom being like, I got this made for you.
I made this
Becca."
for you.
And
Here
it was
you go.
like,
yeah.
I was like, well,
Yeah. Well, we don't need to go on the show.
okay.
We'll stay away from the show conversation for the 7th time. Yeah.
By the way,
I really like the poster though. I think I actually love the poster. I think that's an awesome poster compared to what we've gotten in the past.
I think it's a good poster.
Yeah.
But if you scroll in again, JP, and you go up to the top, you can kind of see what I was talking about with the outfit, the line. And this is another example. I just sent you this image of Captain Marvel. You can again see it's like almost even more obvious the way that they make their suits with this one, with this image I sent you.
Yeah.
Where it's, like you can see kind of from that angle how like there's a whole other piece underneath. I think it's fascinating, but it also seems like a template. Like every hero eventually has the like.
Oh, like right here.
See, you can see.
Yeah, you can totally see the seam in that. Yeah, this is from the end of Captain Marvel, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like a weird vibe that they do, but it clearly must work. It must be how they get around all that stuff.
Good though. Like I'll be honest, I think Captain Marvel's costume looks good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm not saying it looks bad. I'm just saying that it's a template they use all. I just thought it was interesting that they clearly have this template, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Like in Ant-Man, I saw it immediately. I was like, oh my god, they all have it. It's like a weird thing they do, but I love it. Yeah,
sure.
I don't know.
Well, speaking of costumes, we kind of didn't see this because I don't think we paid attention to the poster for Guardians of the Galaxy. I think we looked at it briefly. Did you guys happen to see Nebula's pose? Because this took out a pretty large chunk of social media before Ant-Man reviews hit. In the poster for Guardians of the Galaxy, I will show it to you here. Fans started shitting on Nebula's pose. What the fuck is she doing? What is she?
It is everyone looks a little weird.
Yeah, but what is she specifically doing?
I will say
no one looks good.
Yeah, first off, they all look like a little weird, which is I think the point they're going for. But I will say that if any character was going to look really awkward,
it's her.
If you watch the Christmas special, Nebula, literally there's a scene where it's her trying to dance, and it's so fucking awkward and funny that it absolutely is what I think they're going for on purpose.
Could be.
Like she just doesn't get human emotion or like emotions. So she doesn't know how to like pose or do like when she does the dance. If you go watch the Christmas thing, they keeps focusing on her dancing and she's bad at it.
She commented on
it.
For those that don't follow Karen Gillian on TikTok, she had this whole TikTok brigade to try and get verified. And it went like super viral for like a month. And then she finally got verified and it was this whole thing. So she used that now as like her main form of social media. And she made a TikTok about this and said, can anyone tell me what I was thinking when I decided to pose like this on an international worldwide poster that will remain forevermore? Remember doing this pose and thinking, I think I look pretty cool here. So I take full responsibility for this choice, but oh my God, what am I leaning against? And what is my elbow doing? Maybe I should double down and make this pose a thing. I stared at it for so long and was like, oh, maybe I'm reaching for a weapon to take out and fight someone. Then I remembered that I'm not wearing a holster or anything that would carry a weapon, so it's not that either. You'll be seeing that pose again somewhere you'll least expect it. So I don't know what that means.
It
but
seems like you're going for a Breakfast Club vibe.
Sure.
So I think her note was probably like, oh, look nonchalant and look cool, but as Nebula. And it's like, well, Nebula, what would Nebula's version of nonchalant / cool look like, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say Batista nailed it.
He looks he's chilling. He's big chilling.
I don't know why more people aren't concerned about Gamora, because I don't know what the hell that I don't know what she's doing down there.
Gamora does not fit at all. I think she actually looks worse than Nebula.
Yeah.
But I think it's like her take of the Breakfast Club thing, except in the Breakfast Club, her hands on the ground. But I think it's like, oh, this is giving Breakfast Club.
Yeah. The other thing.
That's my take. I don't know.
There were other reasons why people were pointing out Nebula, is what I will say, but they are a part of a silly part of the internet and conversation, so I won't bring them up here. But if you want to, you can go and join that conversation and see how silly people are.
It's always the internet being stupid.
Yeah, it's quite strange. But I thought it was funny that she like took to social media and was like, "Yeah, I don't know what the fuck I was doing." I kind of like that she did that.
I will say, one thing I like about this poster or this like fake photo is that, unlike most of the Marvel stuff where there are women involved, they didn't digitally sex them up.
Yeah.
Right? Their poses are silly, but like they're mostly like, they didn't do what they do with like Anytime.
Well, we can go back to the Jessica
Black
Alba
Widow was featured
thing that we
where they like it's like just like Jessica Alba, where like for some reason every version of her gets sexier and sexier, but it's the exact same photo, and you're like, how is this possible? They literally are just people. And I think that's kind of cute when it comes to Guardians, because they're like, goofballs.
Yeah. I just think the pose looks silly, but you're kind of right. The Gamora pose is maybe a little bit sillier, but it's not as present.
It's not
in
Gamora.
That poster.
Yeah.
That it doesn't stand out as much as the.
Yeah, like all these characters, I think like hit what they are. Gamora to me is the real problem here. I'm like, wait a minute. She would never be like, let me pose like one of your French girls. Like that would never happen.
Yeah. Also, Cosmo.
I'm sorry, I just looked up the discourse.
I told you not to. We're not bringing it in the show.
I'm not, but I'm just.
I told you. It was fucking crazy. It was real silly. It's real silly. This is Bronze new arc here. Silly Bronze. Loser shit Bronze.
No. Why did I look this up?
I told you not to.
Why did I do this?
I told you. That's real silly.
But the very first article I pulled up, one of the reasons that I'm not going to get into it, I'm not going to talk about it, but I will say the very first article I pulled up, the first image they have is a side-by-side shot of Nebula in this poster versus Nebula in the previous posters. And the previous posters, she's sexed up.
Sure.
She's like, she's got huge boobs and like this crazy figure. And I'm like, she doesn't even have that in the movies.
Yeah. It's strange.
And so
it's strange.
I, in fact, am fine with the fact that they look like normal people.
Right.
So whatever.
Right.
But we're not going to get into that.
We're not getting into that. 100%.
The internet sucks, dude.
Yeah.
The internet sucks ass.
I will simply transition us away off of this highway to hell. And let's talk about Jonathan Majors. He was in a interview with Variety. And we can kind of lead into some Ant-Man discussion on this. Keep in mind the context that this was 4 years ago, 3 years ago, a long time ago. Let's go with that. It wasn't any time recent. He wasn't a star or anything like that. He was talking with Variety, and he said, quote, "I hope this doesn't bite me in the ass, but I walked out of my first Marvel general meeting. This was a long time ago. I just gotten out of drama school and I'm running around town and I'm sitting in the office. I grew up in a very particular way and I don't want to waste nobody's time. So I got in there and they're just busy. And I was like, I'm supposed to be here, right? It got long and I went, I'm going to go. It's cool. I'll just go. I got to the door, but then they said casting director Sarah Finn was going to come. We got in the room and we chatted. We were having this great conversation. I think it was maybe 3 years later that they had the Kang chat with me. There's no trepidation now, especially because of who Kang is. When I said yes, we got the whole picture, and what is being laid out is cohesive. I just love the fact that he fucking walked out on Marvel.
It sounds like they were just... Look, I think
that's wild.
All three of us can probably say that we've been in meetings where like 2 hours was wasted and nothing happened. And we were like, should we go? Nothing said. And then like in the last minute, a key person finally shows up.
Yeah.
And then we actually start working. I can't tell you how many times I've hurry up and waited in this damn career. So like I get it. Yeah, that's a ballsy move to be like, oh, it's Marvel? Peace.
Yeah, I'm
like,
going to walk out the door and then get stopped at the last second. Especially as someone fresh out of like drama school. Like that's wild. I guess know your worth in that regard. With that said, let's talk some Quantumania. Before we jump into
Quantumania, a new movie to cover on MCU crew. It's been so long.
Yeah, it has been a while.
It has been a long time, yeah.
Also, you don't got to lean into your mic.
Am I?
Quantumania!
Yeah, it gets very loud.
It's a brand new movie to cover on the MCU crew.
Thank you.
Like that?
Thank you. Thank you for the cover, Jesse. I appreciate you.
It debuted with 120 million over the weekend.
Is that good?
Pretty good. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I think that's right what they were expecting. It bested expectations than what they were.
Ant-Man, that's pretty good. Considering it is like Ant-Man's not like the big money bringer.
I think it also the Rotten Tomatoes is a giant thing in the industry. And when you get panned the way that they did last week with those review scores, which we were completely off, by the way.
Can we please
Holy
start there?
shit, were we off? I think Bronze went 80s, low 80s. Jesse was low 80s.
Bronze went 90. I went 80. You went 70.
No. I went 90. I went 90 on the community score, not on the critic score.
I nailed the community score. I think I said 85, and last I checked, it was 84. I did pretty good with that.
Yeah. Well, we were all fucking wrong on the critic score because it's 47% right now. It is the lowest Marvel film.
Ever, period?
I want to say ever. Yes, the worst Rotten Tomatoes score in MCU movie history.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. Hold on. It tied Eternals. Eternals and Ant-Man were both 47%. Thor: Love and Thunder was 64%. And then everything else kind of goes up from there. All the way up to Black Panther, the first one, which was 96. So
I just want to say, I want to get this out of the way for the record.
Wait, so what's the fan score?
Let me pull it up. It was 80. It's sitting at 84 right now. So we were pretty close.
Isn't that pretty low compared to like other
low for fan
MCU
score.
movies?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. Let me see if I can find a ranking of that.
I will say that even though there's a lot of things in this movie that was like, still enjoyed it more than Thor: Love and Thunder. I'm gonna put it out there. I'm gonna say it.
Look, I will double down on that and say, like, I enjoyed the film. There were some fucking bad things in this film.
Oh yes, there were some terrible things. There was some shit in this movie that was bad, but
yes,
I thought it was better than Thor. I like enjoyed it more, and I didn't fall asleep. I was awake the entire time. Ant-Man 2 fell asleep. Didn't even like Ant-Man 2 was boring to me. This at least I was like in it. Yeah,
I definitely found myself. And this was kind of me worrying about the fact that I had someone waiting outside, and I was like, God, I hope it's not past the time that I told them. So I was conscious of that. But I kept thinking, like, there's no way I've only been in here 2 hours. This feels long. Like, this is going a little long. And I kept, this is going to wrap. Oh, it's going to wrap up. No. Oh, okay. All right. Let me see what, it's only been 2 hours. It was short.
Yeah. It was fast. Here's what I'll say. This is like the flow of the movie for me, just to like outline how I felt.
Okay.
The intro bit, I was like, oh, this is lovely. I love this little Scott Lang intro bit. It's fun. I kind of wish his crew was still in this movie, but like whatever. And then, the intro was fun. It's only like 10 minutes maybe, but it was fun. Then there is however long of wacky, zany antics that I was like, oof, okay, we're kind of all over the place right now. And then Kang shows up, and now suddenly it's like, awesome. Kang is amazing. And like, I'm like, oh shit, this guy is totally a threat. And then the ending, which is a spectacle, also is kind of silly. And I was like, I can't tell if I love this or I hate this, but it's at least fun to watch. And then it ended with sort of a similar thing to the beginning, but the end thing was like, hey, we're doing something silly with the ending. Hopefully that bad guy won't come back. And you're like, this is the end of the movie, bro?
Yeah.
This is what you're doing?
That was my biggest issue.
That.
My biggest issue with the film is that why did this film exist? Like, nothing, like, if it was just to present that Kang's crazy and like super powerful, but then to have him die because some ants time traveled. I mean, he's not dead.
He's dead.
He's not dead, but
he's going to be
have him
the
defeated, like, by a bunch of ants that time traveled, which I thought honestly was pretty cool. I thought that was an amazing scene when, the OG Ant-Man showed
moment.
up. Yeah, he had an awesome
Hank
moment.
had like a badass moment. That was cool, but it is kind of dumb that it's Kang and he's like, oh, ants!
It's ants.
No! And you're like, bro, ants?
Well, it's not just ants.
know.
It's time traveled ants that built their own fucking like thing. Their whole like population was wild. Yeah, socialism.
Again, the movie had moments that I was like, that's a really good, like again, like you were talking about the socialism joke. I thought that was hilarious. He's like, I know you aren't down on socialism these days. Like, I thought that was really funny that Hank Pym's the guy to say that. Yeah. Like, I thought that was pretty funny. But there's also moments like bringing in Bill Murray, the most unnecessary.
Why the fuck was he there?
Totally useless, does not matter at all. Like, a waste of screen time. I was like, why are we?
They made Bill Murray fucking boring.
I've never seen it. Like, Bill Murray is an actor that when he's in it, you can tell he's in it. I've never seen an actor be like, I'm saying words. That's like what it was.
No,
it was like him.
My brother,
Star Trek gobbledygook.
My brother had the perfect way of saying it. He said it was the first time that he thinks he was seeing Bill Murray act.
Yes, like he didn't seem natural. He seemed like he was like, he's like, oh, I love the Gorka Flocken Mac. And you're like, bro, what? Like it's just him it was clear that they gave him words to say and he said them.
It was very strange.
But he didn't seem like, and that's the problem with the movie is the parts that were amazing. You know what? This movie was like that one relationship that you had that was terrible, but you always think about the best parts. You know what I mean? Like there are things in this movie that are amazing that I absolutely love. And then there are things in this movie that I'm like, oh, that's why we broke up. You know what I mean? Like that's the problem with the movie.
Yeah.
It's like all over the place, but still more entertaining.
What do you mean, Jesse? I was great in the film. I died in Avenger. It was a really funny joke.
That was so unfunny that when that line landed, the audience was like, cricket, cricket. I was like, dude, no.
I didn't get a single laugh in that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is Ant-Man movies, usually the ones where people are laughing the entire time. And when Kang showed up, the stakes changed so dramatically that 90% of the comedy they tried to inject, it was like, bro, Modok, you're a piece of shit. Why do I suddenly? Oh, well, he's redeemed. Like, no, you suck, dude. It's again, there's so much like, this goes back to same thing. This movie is exactly the way I felt about Multiverse of Madness. Exactly. The stuff that landed was amazing. The stuff that didn't sucked ass. Yeah. And I cannot stress to you how much I loved. Like, Kang was awesome.
He was great.
Everything. Jonathan Majors kicks ass. And at a certain point, I was like, I want him to just like win so we can keep more of this character in the series. And it's like,
I want more of him and Janet. I would like, give me like 30 minutes of him and Janet just fucking hanging out in the quantum realm. Just hanging.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
They were great.
is so good in this movie. But again, her motivations are insane. Like, if you really think about it, the first half of the movie where she's like, I didn't want to tell you. And they're like, tell them now.
Yeah, no,
Janet,
that's bad.
Tell them now, Janet.
Yeah, no, it's really silly.
I don't know. It's a weird place to start with Kang because the greatest threat in the universe is defeated by ants, right? And the only takeaway I had leaving was he said multiple times, he's like, you don't think I know what loss is, bro? I've lost before. So I think that's the way they're trying to say, like, the reason why he is different from Thanos is that Thanos never lost. He always kept winning.
Yeah.
And then when he lost, that's when he finally lost.
Right.
Kang, his losses make him better. I think that's what they're trying to do. But what do I know, man?
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's the other thing is like, why was Wasp 1 in the title of this and 2 in the film?
Bro, she saved him, dude. At the end, she saved him,
they have zero chemistry on camera. The two of them. Yeah. I don't believe for a second that they're somehow dating and or married and or whatever it is that
I didn't know they were married. Because they weren't married in the second one, right? They were just dating.
Did they get married? Was that implied?
They must have, because they were having a family pizza meal as a family. So I was like, oh, I
okay.
guess they're married, maybe?
I don't know. That said, I thought Catherine Newton, Cassie Lang's actress, I thought she was also very good. I'm excited for whatever she's
fine.
in the future.
I think she's fine. I don't know why they recast the original actress who was in the first two movies.
I think it's star power,
but like
charisma, whatever.
Sure, I don't.
She's probably going to be
not
Young Avengers.
The young actresses of Hollywood.
She might be like Young Avengers, helming that whole thing. So I think they just wanted, whatever.
I also, the ending, I thought they pulled their punch. I was so excited. I think we talked about this where I was like, wouldn't it be amazing if Kang escaped and he stuck Ant-Man in the quantum realm? And I was like, holy shit, are they doing this?
I thought he was stuck. And then the portal appeared and he's like, I got to go home.
And the portal is open. Like, oh, right, because his daughter's magic. And a portal opens.
That had to be a reshoot.
Do you think?
That had to be a reshoot. I'm telling you, the way it's cut, it was like they literally have a scene where they go out and look on the city, like, I guess we live here now.
Right.
Yeah.
And then a portal appears behind them.
Yeah.
Like that to me was like they shot that as the end and then went back and changed it. Like, because nothing about that scene feels natural, normal, or makes sense.
And I guess if it was a reshoot, then that must have been like a focus testing reshoot. Because I don't know why they would. That's a pretty significant change. And if people were pissed off that like they were no longer going to see Ant-Man in like the world or something, then I guess that's why they'd go change it. But then you got like this.
Because that's what it feels like to me. Because like literally you have them step out, accept their fate, and then they turn around as though they expected that portal to appear the whole time. And they even show Cassie being like, no, as the portal disappears. And it's like, why would she freak out if she knew at any point in time she could just bring them back?
Open it again.
Yeah.
Also, like, she's not the one who opened the portal to begin with. That portal was opened by Kang's interdimensional freaking battery. How the hell?
It was opened by Modok, wasn't it? Didn't Modok figure it out? Because Modok said he tracked the signal.
No, Modok got the signal. He's the one who got the signal.
It might have been from the thing that you said, though, Bronze. That's the
wasn't it the battery?
It was Kang's thing. It was his device.
Janet going over there and like they open the portal and then Kang tries to go in behind them, but it was powered by like his interdimensional battery.
Yeah.
And so like where does she have the technology to open that? Like she doesn't have a fucking interdimensional battery. Like, and the portal even looks the same. It's the same graphical effect and everything.
Right.
So to me, that was like, I was like, this is a reshoot. They like tested this. People were mad, and then they added that in. That was a pickup shot because they literally walk out onto the balcony and like look out like, hey, we could still make a life here. Like they have that look of like, you know, there's people here, there's stuff here. Like we could, as long as we're together, you know, and it's almost like it's thumbing, like, you know, it's like kind of being like, this is different than, you know, the other, you know, than Sharon Stone being stuck here. because I have the love of my life, so it doesn't matter. Even though they have no
you
chemistry.
mean Michelle Pfeiffer?
Oh shit, I confuse them.
Look, all white people look the same for Bronze. We've been through this.
We talked about this before.
No, Michelle Pfeiffer.
I'm JP. That's Jesse.
Oh shit, I would have. Sorry, y'all gotta. Yeah, I get confused. Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer, the Catwoman. Yeah. Not crossed legs, Catwoman. But yeah, it seems like, oh, you can make a life here if you have the people that matter to you.
Mm-hmm.
But and then they go back on that and they just turn around and there's a portal. To me, the most sus thing is that the portal looks the exact same as 100%. The one opened. And also the technology she was using was a satellite. So, like, it was like supposed to be like a remote probe satellite. How does that turn into a portal?
She figured it out with her time. I mean, clearly, Bronze. She figured, look, you're absolutely correct, because that last scene, I've never been so upset about him redoing the intro to the movie, but this time, I got my cake for Cassie and I'm gonna do a thing, and then pausing and be like,
having a panic attack.
We did defeat him, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully that guy doesn't come to, and then looks around and sees the world and he's like, nothing's gonna happen. I hated that. I hated that so much. It was like such a slap in the face of I'm
telling you, that
really in trouble. Better watch out.
The only thing that explains it is it was tacked on. That's the only thing that explains it, is that, oh, we added this on because we originally shot that he was going to be trapped forever in the quantum realm.
Right. Yeah. Which, to be honest,
that's the only thing that makes sense.
If I wish that would have happened, because again, it just leads me back to then the movie would have had a fucking point. It would have had stakes.
Yeah.
I saw so much of the conversation there's no stakes in this film.
Well,
and I fucking agree.
Everything is done for everything's done for a bit. And then that bit ends up having to be an important part of the movie. Oh, we're gonna have there be these dip-like things you have to fist in order to, pilot the plane, because this is funny. And then it's the rest of the movie, you see these horrible special effects, this Spy Kids type of thing, where that's how he's piloting the plane.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna just say it, and I'm probably gonna sound like an ass, but it also felt like a huge ripoff of Star Wars.
A lot of people said that.
Elements.
Yeah.
There was a cantina. They were wearing ponchos. They had these visors on. Now in Star Wars, I actually went to this exhibit called at the Mopop that was focused on the design of the costumes in Star Wars. And I was fascinated because this is something that always was compelling to me, is why is Darth Vader's helmet shaped that way? The reality is the people that worked on especially that original trilogy, there's a reason for just about everything. When you're in a high dust environment, yes, having a hood and having those goggles that the Wasp was wearing the entire time makes sense. There's no dirt flying around in the quantum realm, and yet they're dressed like they're out in the desert for no discernible reason. And there's for me, there wasn't a through line of why are they dressed like this? Why do the aliens look like there was no culture, versus when you look at a comic book like Saga, it feels oh, there's a reason that things look like this. There's a reason. If you're gonna go zany, don't go zany for the sake of being zany. Have some oh yeah, the people here have TV heads, or even them having hoods in an environment where we never see it rain. Little things like that. I'm their clothing wouldn't even camouflage with how colorful the backdrop is. So there was so many things where I was there's no cultural note about why you're dressing like this. It just looks like you ripped off Star Wars. That's all it looks like, is that you ripped off Star Wars.
They pick it up from that caravan, and then you never know why that caravan exists or what the caravan is caravanning for.
Yes.
Or
what is the point?
What they just got a creature from them, and then we never see them again until maybe the end. They might have been.
Oh my god!
They might have been
absolutely correct.
Yeah.
That whole sequence is they see the caravan land. Michelle Pfeiffer walks up to them. They have like a knife duel where she stabs the guy, and then he like takes the knife and is like, "Ha, you're pretty good." And then she's like, "All right, we're good. They're gonna take care of us." And then they summon a flying manta ray thing, give them clothes, and then they're gone. It serves no purpose in the like. We don't know who those people are. We don't know why they exist.
Yeah.
What is her relationship to them?
The only purpose was like to show Michelle Pfeiffer knew them or knew their customs, and that was it. That was it.
That's the same thing with Bill Murray's scene.
Yeah.
Bill Murray's scene, he shows up. We're like, oh, there's some backstory. She definitely boned him. But guess what? You know what? Hank Pym is a pretty chill dude because he boned other people.
I thought that was those jokes actually made me laugh, although they were fucking weird. When he's just like,
it's like a weird thing to include.
We totally banged, by the way.
They were awkwardly included. Yeah, they were like awkwardly. The way they introduced them was awkward, I think.
Yeah.
But I think like that's the kind of the through line in the movie is that things are introduced just as like just to be introduced or just as a funny thing, you know?
Right.
And then they don't have a greater purpose. And so even like I was really interested in the things in the suits that are like Kang's army, and like we don't even like really talk about them at all. Like
they seem to have a personality, but are they robots?
Yeah, I don't. That's right. I don't know if they were robots or what. We just kind of,
At first, I was like, well, he built an army of robots, but then by the end, they're like, oh no, sir, ow, my shoulder, and they're like, is that a dude? What is this?
Yeah,
no answers.
I would have been
zero.
So much more interested. Or I've been more compelled if if they're culturally they looked more like they were from Horizon Zero Dawn, like where it's like, oh, they're stealing pieces of Kang's technology or like, you know, grabbing, and so they have pieces of it that they fashioned into armor, but there's no culture for the quantum realm, despite them saying like, we live down here and before Kang got here things were great, and it's like, well, what's your culture though? Like there's only one dude with a light head. There's not like multiple light head people. And every
I want to know more about him. He was dope.
Compelled when you see
He's
this
dead now,
giant
so it doesn't matter.
amoeboid coming, right? Like you see this giant amoeboid coming, and then you see this thing that like channels solar energy. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, because it seems like there's giant microorganisms here.
Yeah.
Apparently he's the only one. And
the
rest
only
of them
one with
don't
the light
even
head.
have light weapons, right? And it's so
up until
once
that
again,
point,
it's
I
so
thought
strange.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be all of it. The scene where they get down there and they're like going through the like when they see the sun and then the sun's a thing and it attacks them and they're like, we gotta fight this, and then a giant amoeba thing comes out. I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. I love the idea of like fighting in a world where microscopic organisms are like. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's super neat. This is kind of fun. And then I expected Kang to be the one city in a world of that kind of crap.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, when they talk about all the people that lived, so when they talk about like rebellion, my thought was, knowing what I knew going in, based on like the stuff we had talked about beforehand, I was like, oh, so like Kang probably took over everything and now the rebellion's like in the mean streets, right? And they got no, they're people living in sentient houses in the middle of nowhere that for some reason there's a human woman and then a man with like boo, 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 head, and then a bunch of people that look like aliens, and then a goo man. And I don't know why they all live together. And then there's broccoli people.
Up until we saw them just like kind of up until the fight happens when Modok shows up, I thought that whole interaction was dope. Like I love they couldn't understand him and they like have the goof where they have to like drink the guy. I was laughing at that. I enjoyed all that stuff. But then exactly what you guys are saying, they like get attacked. And then you don't, there's no other.
And they're gone till the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And that's everything exists. Yeah, like if they were going to do any of this, the ants are more like should have just been the ants, because the ants are set up as they went through the portal. Yeah. I
actually was thinking of that because I was like, this movie, you can easily cut 30 minutes from it. And that's what tells you how pointless it is. So all you have to do is when Scott and Cassie fall into the quantum realm, they're like avoiding these amoeboid organisms, and then Modok comes after them because they're being chased by Modok.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, the ants get the other three, and then you have this perfect situation where they all meet in the middle. I just saved you 30 minutes of your movie, and you didn't need all of those people in the quantum realm. Like, you
here's
could just
the
cut
thing.
literally all of it.
The question would be, do those people of the quantum realm show up in another film?
Do you care about them?
We're never seeing them again.
Well, it's not if I care about them. I'm just saying, like, do they ever show up? Because if not, then you're right. Why are they should be cut?
They are not ever showing up again.
I truly did not care about them. I truly did not find myself being like, but their culture is being destroyed. I was like, I don't care.
Well, it was also strange too, because the leader, the woman with the staff, whatever she was doing when she was stabbing dudes with her staff was a fucking cool effect. And they never
was vaporizing men.
Well, it wasn't vaporizing. Yeah. It was like she was like tearing them half apart. It was weird. I wanted to know why. Why does her staff do that? And we just never got
explained.
Yeah. We never got any of that.
Another thing that drove me crazy is they have all these wild, fantastical Star Wars like aliens.
Sure.
And then humans show up, but the humans are like, oh, human is what you call yourselves. And you're like, bro, what the hell are you? Well, we're not going to ever explain that. Yeah. Okay, bye. It's bonkers.
Yeah.
It felt like the end of the Loki season, except in that it made sense. Where it was like, oh, the rejects from everywhere are dropped here.
Oh,
you know, like, so like everyone that's ever been trimmed from the sacred timeline is dropped here. So you got some weird shit just happening. That made sense to me. In this one, I was like, is this that? Because it didn't feel like any of them were native. It felt like they had been bloop, 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 like dropped there.
Yeah.
You know how I know none of that was important? Because of the ending. The fact that Scott and the Wasp, I can't remember, Janet no, that's not Janet, whatever her name is.
The Wasp.
Hope. The fact that they got back, if they would have stayed there, stuck in that realm, then all of those people would have been a part of their story going forward because they helped those people reestablish a society or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, they
just fucking leave. What happens to the ants that are down there? Do the ants just rule? Does it become a soul like that? I want to know that shit.
This is how confused I was when the at the end when they look down, they see the society and everyone's like, "Yeah, we did it, we're free." And you watch people like broccoli men push like, I don't know, 20 or 30 of Kang's soldiers as they're prisoners. I'm like, wait, so are they not robots? Like, why are they taking them prisoner if they're not like, who are these people? We never know. They're just.
I thought, and this might just be me filling in that gap because there was a gap there. I thought that the people that were part of his army were formerly part of that group and they had been like, coerced to switch over, kind of like exactly what happened with Bill Murray.
But why do they all they look like stormtroopers in that they're all the same? But at least in Star Wars, we had aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper joke, right? Like,
right, yeah.
And then you saw the helmets come off and you saw characters be like them. And so it made sense that these giant faceless,
again, I filled it into my head canon. It might not be the case.
Right. But like, it doesn't,
looking out
things
over
aren't
his
explained.
army was very Star Wars too, right?
Yeah.
Like that shot where it's like you see them all lined up with the ships. I was making jokes about Protoss, but then once I saw like the Star Wars angle and him addressing them, I was like, guys, this is so much Star Wars. When the hologram popped up and he was like, now we begin our ascent. I was like, this is Star Wars.
Pretty Star Wars.
Speaking, oh boy, I just remembered a scene that the more I think about this, the more I'm like, for as much as I liked it, there's so much stuff in this that I dislike. The scene where it's very clear Kang is like killing people, vaporizing dudes. Like he's
with the flashback.
It is bad. The rebellion is about to lose. And then Scott becomes like mega big, like Godzilla tall. And as he runs in, destroying everything, and you're like, this is pretty hype. He shouts, "Your promise is your bond, Kang. How dare you break your..." I'm like, bro, this is what you're upset about? This evil villain didn't keep his word?
Yeah.
And I know they try to play it for comedy, but like, no. You can't. That's the climax of the film where he becomes the hero and starts dismantling the bad guy's forces. And he's like,
that seems like another
your word is your bond,
thing.
Bro. I was like,
it seems like another focus test thing where people are like, why is he like, what is he so upset about? What is he doesn't have like, oh yeah, we'll get him in a VO booth. We'll have him fix that. Yeah.
Didn't
It's
seem
kind of weird.
I think that highlights something that like was really like a turnoff for me with the movie, which is there's this. Oh my god. Okay, so Jonathan Majors put on a masterclass. Everything he did was brilliant.
Well,
if they make
amazing.
a cut where it's
Amazing.
him,
I had one issue with him, and it wasn't his fault, but he was the major. Had to do with that first post-credit scene.
Oh yeah, no. I think we see eye to eye on this. Yeah.
That post-credit scene fucking sucked, man.
Should we get into those two really quick before we like
I don't want to take Bronze's. She was cooking.
Right.
She was cooking.
Yeah.
I want to let Bronze cook.
You're gonna let me cook? Oh. So I loved like Kang's every word like drips with venom when it's supposed to. So I was like very into what Jonathan Majors was doing. Like I said, if they did a cut of the movie where it's just his scenes, I'd rewatch it. But the narrative pull is like so absent for me because Ant-Man expects you to do that work on your own, if that makes sense, where it's like, Hope is amazing. Here's all the great things Hope does. We haven't talked about this in any other movie. We're just going to tell you that in a voiceover.
Oh, in the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like
God.
there's no bond between Hope and Scott. And
Zero
I'm gonna
chemistry.
be honest, Scott had way more like father-daughter chemistry with the first Cassie than with the new one. And when you're introduced,
Yeah,
Cassie
I think that was
too,
writing too.
there's like no emotional bond. And then on top of that, like when the way they were writing her, I was like, are you supposed to like her? Because she just comes off as like judgy and like shitty, where she's like, they were taking homeless people out and they were gonna pepper spray the people. And so what do you do with your free time, Dad? Like, I'm sorry that you're at home spending time with your family after losing 5 years of your life. But like, what are you doing? It came off as like super like what do you call it? Like saviorism. I'm not even gonna call it white saviorism. I'm just gonna call it saviorism, where it's like one person is like James Cameron. She went full James Cameron of like, what are you doing with your time? It's so easy, haha. Just like turn the cop car into a toy, haha. And I was like, are you supposed to like her like this? And to me, it was also so weird where I'm like, this man spent half your childhood in prison and half your adulthood blipped, and you're like sitting here talking about how you want him to go do stuff other than spend time with his family. Like, your complaint is that he wants to spend time with his family. Because it seemed like
It's
everyone's
very
like, what do you
anti-trope.
do?
Yeah.
You wrote a book? Oh, cool. Why don't you go out there and do something? I'm like,
They do shit on him like really badly.
That's
so confused because I was like,
yeah.
what's wrong with this man wanting to spend time with his family? He was in prison and then he was blipped. He has every reason to want to spend time with these people.
But that's the fallacy of the beginning of the movie, where it is the first 10 or so minutes are played for comedy, like hard comedy, where his daughter roasts him a little bit, but like he roasts his daughter a little bit, and she's in prison, and he's like, well, I've been in prison 4 times. Like that, you're like, it's an Ant-Man movie. The first 10 minutes or so it's like the first 2 movies. It's like kind of a goof, played for comedy. Then they get sucked on through, and it becomes very serious very quickly. And they try to interject comedy, but like sometimes it lands and sometimes it doesn't, and it's all over the place. And then they're caught up in a war, and then the movie ends with the exact same Ant-Man vibe of like, I'm Scott Lang and I'm walking down the street saying hi to everyone. Oh shit, are we all about to die? It doesn't matter because I'm walking down the street. End. And you're like, what just happened? Yeah. It's a wild. Zany. They were right.
So much
they were.
The thing is supposed to be that like is their relationship. And I thought at some point there would be like some discussion of like
the time
how she
lost?
has a very or like just the fact that she has a very oversimplified view of because, like, well, these people need help, just help them, forehead.
Because Bronze, the fucking marketing for the movie implied that was the whole premise, or not the whole premise, but
what
a big fucking part of the movie. And like
Kang, it's all about lost time.
And
Kang
like
promising Janet that he's going to give her time with.
I feel like that was cut.
What the marketing for the movie was about Scott.
Like,
yes.
But because like that was such a barb when he sees Hope for the first time and he goes, hi Jelly Bean. I was like, oh, that's fucked up. You're fucked up, dude. Like,
That was
because I
awesome.
was like, I thought that was the whole theme of the movie is like these parallels of like Janet didn't get to spend time with her kid. And now Scott hasn't been able to spend time with his. So they're going to share this pain together. And instead it was like I said, everything was played for a kind of joke to the point that I just didn't, they didn't do a good job selling the Cassie Scott relationship for me, where I'm like, they should have just kept the initial actress because I don't
think
see
it was an
anything
actress
between
thing.
them.
I actually think
Well,
Catherine
no,
Newton was great.
I
I
think
think it
like,
was writing in a lot of ways. Like,
well,
Yeah, that sounds
to a
right.
certain extent, it's one of those things where it's like when they recast oh, I can't think of her name from the Mummy 3. Like, it's not even, there's some
Rachel
spots
Weisz?
where if it's like Rachel Weisz, yeah.
can't believe I remember
It's one
that.
of those things, yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, it doesn't matter how good the incoming actress is. That's not who we've seen for two
It's
movies.
different. Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if it was the OG Cassie and then his entire thing was like, I'm willing to die and be locked in the quantum realm for Cassie. It's easier for us to form that bond when we've seen that actress for 2 movies. When it's like, we just met her like 30 minutes ago. It's hard to have that same connection as an audience to a character that was like just introduced
I agree.
versus a character. So like that recasting was like weird. I'm like, just have her be a little younger, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that would have sold that more than introducing someone completely brand new and expecting us to form that same attachment, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It would be like if in The Last of Us show, if they just recast Ellie in the right now.
In
Like,
season
it would
2
be,
or something.
it just wouldn't work.
I mean, it's happened
we would all
before
be
in
like,
shows. Yeah, it always kind of falls exactly how you're saying. Where it's,
yeah,
it's a
it
little
seldom
weird.
goes over well. Recasts seldom go over well. I think the only reason Rhodey worked is it was early. It was fucking early on. So
Well, and yeah, I'm trying to think like why that did work. I think he just had more screen presence. Like, I think it speaks to the fact that the writing and the relationship for the moment that occurs between the two of them in Endgame was so impactful that we think about it in a lot more emphasis than we do like Rhodey in Iron Man 1. At least for me, right? Like, he just wasn't an impactful thing. He didn't have very like much of a large role. Whereas with the actress that played Cassie in Endgame, like, it was a pretty emotional role, right? Like, it kind of frames the movie in a lot of ways.
She's not in it a lot.
No, she's in it for maybe 5 minutes, but it's still super impactful. It gives you like a reference point to like the reality of someone that got blipped and someone that had to like, lose someone in that regard. So I think that might be as well why it was a bigger shock to see or to have a new Cassie in this film for some people. So yeah. I thought, like, joke wise.
Talk about the post-credit scenes though, because you brought that up initially, and I want to
let's do that.
I think we're on the same page on this. Do you want me? You want to tackle this?
Look, I don't even have to say anything. This is what I think about the second or the first post. I think it's this. I think it looks like it sounded like dog shit.
Is Ramatet's hat crazy, or am I like it
looked weird.
So weird on his head?
Here's
the
inherent problem.
I don't know what was going, and I understand what Ramatet's design looks like. Before anyone was like, does it? It looks like the way it moves. I'm not a CG expert, so I can't tell you why it looks weird. But that shit looked uncanny. It looked weird.
It did look strange. I will say the problem with that first extra cutscene is the problem that anytime someone has to act with themselves,
it's awkward.
It's awkward, and they must come up with a million different ways to. It's like when a DM in D&D does all the voices for like 4 characters in a scene to like, but then suddenly those 4 characters have to talk to each other, and it's like always awkward.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing here where the worst part is it goes from awkward to very, very awkward. So it's like you have the 3 characters, so you have the 3 main Kangs, right? there's like Future Dude Kang and Ramatut Kang, and then like I don't know, like Big Trouble Little China Kang, and they're like all three are sitting there and they're like, we must defeat the timeline, and the guy's like, yes, we have to, because they have to like be so different.
They have to be their own entity, yeah.
But
right?
I think
But that
they should have gotten like pointers on that for Moon Knight, because Oscar Isaac said that
That
they
was his
cast
brother.
his brother.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but that was smart. They should have, like, in Moon Knight, you do not have this problem. You never feel
Right.
like Oscar Isaac is acting to himself, because he wasn't. They cast his brother. His brother studied him very carefully, studied the accent carefully. So in none of those scenes is Oscar Isaac acting alone.
I think
so
the scene
think
where he
they
acts
should
with
have
himself
done
is the
same
best
for-
scene in Moon Knight, where he's on the street.
Yeah, and I think
That's
they
the
should have
best
done
scene.
the same for Jonathan Majors. I think they should have had a stand-in for him to act around and potentially do voiceovers with. Like have someone to overlay the voice.
Pedro in my chat says it was the voices. I think the voices is why it came across so shitty.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, the voices were. It's one of those things where, because it's the same person, and it's three of them, they made three very distinct voices, but they're both the same person. So it's like ridiculous to hear. Again, it's the DM thing. It's one person having a conversation with themselves and being like, and the other guy's like, we must defeat them. And the other guy's like, oh, yes, the timelines. And then the worst part is they cut to the arena and it's all the Kangs. And then you realize that one person can only act so many different ways.
Yes.
So all the Kangs, their reactions, half of them don't make sense. If you watch the scene,
there's a guy just screaming.
There's literally a guy going, yeah. And you're like, why would he be doing that? There's one guy, he ports in and then kneels immediately. And there's one guy where he's like getting ready to box.
Yeah.
Literally, they just had him do it is straight
yeah.
up. It's the poster for Guardians that we just saw where they were like, pose.
Yeah. I like that one. I like the one that was like super hype in the middle of the arena. That was like, oh. I was like,
right,
oh,
but
that's
like when they go to the whole audience, there's so many Kangs.
Yeah,
that
it was
and it's
weird,
him being
man.
all of them. And after a while, like even me, and I'm no actor, but I've done before in the past things where I had to like be multiples of myself. And after 3, I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck, what do I do that looks different?
Yeah.
And so it's very obvious at a certain point, they were just like, okay, now do another thing. And he was like, and they just threw him in the background. And you're like, bro, this is so weird looking.
It is fucking weird, man. I didn't like it.
Direction. Some of it is also just like, why show that scene? Like it felt very Council of Ricks from Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
I was actually
100%.
like talking about that.
Well, and Kang mentions them too. Because doesn't Kang
talking
say
about
like the main Kang?
Yeah, that they're all against him. Yeah.
He
and I
says
was like, oh shit, we're not doing the Rick and Morty fucking timeline, are we?
You know like, that this movie was written by a guy who made many, many Rick and Mortys, right? like I'm between 20 and 40 episodes. I don't know the exact number, but he wrote a lot of.
I didn't know that.
You know that, right?
I mean, the Kang Council is from like the 70s and 80s, so it's not like he ripped it off from Rick and Morty.
No, but this scene, what Bronze is talking about, the vibe
is from Rick and Morty. Like it is.
It's very similar.
They have this place called the Citadel, and there's a bunch of weird Ricks there with stupid hair, and they always talk about the cursed Rick and how they're gonna kill him. And that's what that scene looked like, except without animation, it looks bad.
Yeah.
What's even crazier
there are
is because
pretty stupid Ricks in the Citadel, and that's what it looked like. Where it's like there's a zany one.
Yeah,
because of the
same premise,
three main dudes we see are like the Egypt guy and like the future guy and the dude who again straight up is the villain from Big Trouble in Little China. Like those three dudes, because they're so different. When it then goes to the audience, and 90% of them look like normal ass Kang we just saw.
Just in the same outfit,
makes it even more ridiculous.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, so like you got 3 dudes that are like out of time and space, and then like everyone else is just a direct copy, except one is like, I'm the boxer one. And one is like, I'm the guy who kneels. And you're like, what is I did not like that scene at all.
For me, is everything you guys just said, in summation, that this is the new big bad in Marvel. Like that scene was the representation of the next X movies through the next X amount of phases.
I Perhaps. And I think you're probably right that we'll see more of those Kangs throughout the thing.
Absolutely.
We did talk about this. Like, when are we going to see, Ramatut and that? Like, we'll see that stuff. But again, I think we saw, like, my theory, and I think I saw a lot of people probably agree with me on this. I was like trolling Reddit, and I was like, okay. At the end, when Kang gets sucked into into his own machine, and it's like, oh, we killed him. I think because inside that machine is the like possibility engine, basically, where if Scott could live through it, Scott went in there and he lived through it. That Kang, the most dangerous Kang the Conqueror, the most dangerous person in the universe, the dude who all the other Kangs hate, if he can go in there and he can come out the other end like Scott, then he will be even more dangerous.
Maybe, yeah.
And so that's going to be the final villain. He's going to break out of there and be like, I just learned to be a better me. Like, I had to fight infinity other me's to get out. Like, I'm prepared. And then he's going to go kill all the other Kangs. Mm-hmm. And then by the Kang Dynasty, that movie is when he returns and he kills all the other Kangs because it's the dynasty and he destroys them all. And then the last movie is
This is the image, by the way, from the comics.
It's like this.
It is kind of like this.
Instead of everyone just being like, Kangs, there's literally one dude who's like, and then there's one guy who's like, oh, oh, oh. And then there's one guy who's like, Joel, and it's just him making
it would have been like
crazy.
To me, it would have been more of a scarier moment if they were reverential of each other and not just fucking crazy.
It didn't make sense why they were acting like it made. Maybe they were happy that Kang was dead, and that
or
was
that
the
it was
reason?
preparing for like the multiversal war, or like I didn't. Yeah, it was lost on me.
It doesn't make sense.
Why the fuck they were going crazy because they didn't say anything? They just like came out to speak. But yeah,
and it negates He Who Remains from Loki, who was like, we all fought each other. We all fought each other, and I won, and now I'm here, and I've been maintaining the timeline, and there's other worse ones than me, and now they're all like, we're all friends, and we make weird noises together.
We don't know when that takes place in a timeline.
We do, because they're like, Kang's gone, bro.
Well, no, because isn't He Who Remains, isn't that the end of the timeline?
Oh, boy. You know what? I'm going to let you know right now. If Marvel had the Boston balls to make a time travel messed up thing where at the end Kang is like, I have won, and then it's like, go watch season 1 of Loki, he didn't win shit, and it's a permanent time loop, that would be the ballsiest, craziest shit ever made, ever.
That would be crazy, but I don't think they do it. But
they would never do that. They would never do that.
This frame proves that, like, I said that with the Council of Ricks, things that work in animation do not work.
They don't work. Oh, it was 100% a live action issue. You're without a doubt correct in that.
Because this looks fine.
Yeah,
but in the movie,
and Council of Ricks is fine. It's a funny scene. I've seen that episode.
Council of Ricks looks great. Yeah, but this is not great.
And it's because
the movie is not great.
It's because it comes down to the CG was bad in this film. There are things in it, like very few things look good in this film from a CG point of view. I had so many issues with it.
And
Modok is a fucking joke.
We haven't talked about Modok, bro.
Modok is a fucking joke.
Modok is bad.
He showed up on screen and people laughed not because of his scenes being funny, but because he looks fucking stupid and bad.
Hi, everyone on the internet. We see Modok's butt in this film. Thank you.
We see his fucking butt in it. Remember when I was talking about last week? What does Modok's body look like?
We know. We
got an answer.
It's bad. His face looked so stupid. Every time he took his face mask off, I got mad.
It looks like this.
It looks like that. And then the worst part was like, God, that was probably my most hated scene from the film.
I loved that they made Modok the dude from the first movie. I love that. I like the continuity there. Yeah. But he just didn't look good. He just didn't look good.
He didn't look good, and he didn't have a point. He didn't have a point outside of like his first bit. So then Cassie beats him, and her big thing is, stop being a dick. Don't be a dick.
That resonates with him.
He's like, I'm not going to be a dick. And I was like, somebody got paid to write this? Are y'all? Did an intern write that? Like, it was just so weird. Where I was like, why can't he just be a bad guy? Why can't he just be like, no, fuck you?
I don't. I really wonder what the pitch was to include Modok in the film. Because
Again,
if it was
included
anything
as a
other,
throwback.
well, I feel
It's
like
continuity.
I don't. To me, it just feels like hey, let's give the internet a win. Because Modok is hot right now. People love Modok. Like he's
Modok is not hot.
No,
dude.
Modok is like a
Modok been
meme.
hot.
Like he's a meme on the fucking internet. So let's give the Marvel fans a fucking weird character within the Marvel universe because like we're doing weird in this film. Let's put him in there. And then let's give some continuity by making him Darren Cross because like we saw what happened to him in the first film. And so that makes sense. But then we're going to give him like a personality and go against with what canonically Modok kind of is, which is literally just a fucking machine made for killing.
And here's the thing. In most of animated Marvel and most of like Marvel and Modok still, everyone goofs on Modok. Like Modok is a goof. Like it's a thing and I get it.
Sure.
But I tremendously dislike.
But he doesn't get redeemed. I think I
mentioned
as
this
part
last
of an
week. Where I was
Avengers,
like, I bet, dude, I dislike the fact that they tried to save him. Like that bit, I didn't like his whole. I know what they tried to do. The whole play of like, look at me, I became an Avenger at the end, and everyone was like, yeah, sure. I get what they were trying to do. They were going for comedy, but like, bro, while you're having that conversation, like the battle is still going on. There is still like it. The world
weird,
is.
Man. I laughed because of how awkward it was. Like that's why I was laughing.
It's so awkward.
It was weird.
And I feel like now we've had 2 movies, and I get so frustrated by this. Because at one point, the one thing you could rely on in a Marvel movie was like, oh, you're going to get some really cool action bits. If nothing else, especially Winter Soldier. But you would always have like some really good, like that. I was just thinking of that scene from Winter Soldier where he like drops the knife and then grabs it. You know, yeah. So like, I'm like, oh yeah, you always get some delicious, yummy, cool like action stuff, and these are fun. These are supposed to be fun AAA like action movies, you know, blockbuster movies. And they've done it twice now, where it's like the villain gets defeated by a bunch of kids, the villain gets defeated by a bunch of ants, the villain, and I'm like, when are you gonna have like a hand to hand? You get some of that at the end, and here's the thing. That's where Kang truly shines. You could tell this man has been training. Because those hits were hitting. You only get like 10 seconds of it, but like every time he hit Scott Lang, I flinched where I was like, oh, and when he brings down his leg and those freaking haymakers he was throwing, I'm like, oh, and then you see his face at the end. I'm like, yeah, that fucking looked like it hurt. Like
that whole scene,
just like,
felt like they didn't know how to deal with the power disparity between Kang and Ant-Man.
Yes.
And so the only way to make them like be on the same level is that at their core, they're both just 2 dudes with technology. And in that moment, they don't have technology.
Was destroyed at that point.
They don't have their technology at that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, there's no fucking way in hell that he could actually like take on Kang. Kang would just be like, nope, exactly what he was in the fucking prison scene where he just slams up against the wall and he like, I still don't know what he was doing to their hands. It's like he was shrinking their bodies, but I think there's like breaking their body. I don't know what that was. But
I don't know what he was doing.
When he lifted up Cassie, that was literally Stranger Things.
Yeah.
He started twisting his hand and her arms go like, I was like, bro, I just watched this on an entirely different show. I was like, okay, sure.
That stuff was so weird because to me it's like I'm okay with him. I'm okay with like acknowledging that like, oh, he can't beat Kang, but there has to be a more creative way to like deal with that than just like we're gonna have he can't beat Kang, but a bunch of ants can. You know, it's like okay, that's the funny, strange, but okay.
The weird part about the ants is like that's maybe one of the few things in the film I had 0 issues with and I thought was cool.
I thought that the ants were cool.
Even the fact that
it made sense.
Yeah. Even the fact that they were the thing to defeat the big bad. I was like, cool, great.
The Yeah, because the entire movie, he mocks him as Ant-Man, and he says, like, you play with ants, bro. You're the shittiest Avenger. Like, all that makes sense. The thing that didn't make sense is the ants attack him, carry him away, and then he appears again. So my question is, did the ants give up?
True.
Or they're like,
we can't break this force field, guys.
Did he kill the robot ants?
That's my question too.
Point.
Is what? Because they're clearly used as like a plot device. And for that same reason, it's like the sacrifice that these people made fighting him was useless because the ants come in and do that job. That's why I said you could have cut the quantum dwellers out of the plot completely. Like, I loved the idea of the ants. I love that he's like making a mockery of them, and you actually see why Hank Pym is distinct from Scott Lang and why he's cool in his own regard. I actually thought for half a second when I was like, oh, clearly they're trapped in here. This is such a good ending. I was like, are we gonna get an old Ant-Man now, where it's like, oh, Hank Pym is now Ant-Man?
That would be amazing.
He was fucking awesome.
That would have been so cool. And have an older Wasp. Like, what a win for people in an industry rife with ageism to have an old Ant-Man and an old Wasp. Like, that would be so cool. Nope, they didn't go that way. But then, like, I just want to
I want to circle back on that.
Really important. This is really important. I was right. His armor did get blown off, and you get to see his whole naked arm. So I was right.
Yeah.
I said that was going to happen. I said, oh, what if he's like, oh, no, my armor.
I lost my armor.
And I'm going to beat on you with my naked arm. And it happened. It happened.
Sure. Yeah. I want to circle back. You mentioned Hank and Janet. The two of them had more chemistry in the few scenes that they had than Ant-Man and the Wasp by like a million things. Like the scene where the thing where you're where they first get into the jet plane, whatever the fucking Bill Murray's
where they talk about like where she's
banging
like,
other dudes. He's like, sorry
years.
about that. He goes, yeah, no problem. I had I did it too with a couple people. It's just like, that's funny, like that.
But they end that scene like. That scene is so well done as like an adult. Like, look, we were separated for 30 years. Yeah. I had needs. He's like, look, me too. But and she's like, well, why did they last? He's like, 'cause it's always you, baby, or whatever. I was like, that is a good ass line. Hank Pym is a baller. I was like, that man gets it.
I love that, man.
I absolutely was like, these two are amazing.
Yeah, and Cassie's like, or no, it wasn't Cassie. It was Wasp. Just kind of like weirdly interjecting, like, ew, I don't want to hear this.
But that was a great scene.
Yeah, I thought that was great too. I thought that was probably one of my favorite parts.
Also, like, she established herself as a huge badass in that she sees what's going to happen to Kang, and she's like, fuck you, and this is going to fuck me too, but also fuck you. I was like, yo, Janet
They
Van
gave her
Dyne
a ton to do.
That bitch, man. And even when you remember why she's trapped in the quantum realm, it reminds you that she's a big picture gal where it's like, oh no, my belt's broken. Fuck it then. I'm going to do it. She sacrifices herself without thinking about it for even half a second. And that's why she's in the quantum realm to begin with. And I love that they like reestablished that. I wish she didn't spend half of this movie being like, I'll tell you later. Because that is the trope I hate the most. Stupid. They do that in Star Wars sometimes where I'm like, tell him now. Tell him now. Sit him down now.
In all media.
And be like, there is a guy here. I betrayed this man. I fucked him over, and he is going to eviscerate us. Like, say that. Just, it's going to take you 30 seconds to say it. Say it while you're walking. And so
we have to spend the first half of the movie not explaining it, Bronze.
I can't tell you.
Only when they get in the ship can we truly have a moment where she can then explain the whole backstory that really could have started the movie. If they would have started the movie.
It felt like they didn't want to name Kang, but I'm like, y'all.
They never said the word Kang. Baby. They'd be like, oh, Conqueror, that type of stuff.
100%. It 100% felt like they're like, we're not going to reveal the villain of the movie. And I was like, then why'd you put him on the poster? Y'all put him on the poster. We knew what we were going to go see.
Yeah, not to bring up another piece of media that you can't bring up these days, but it's the whole like he who shan't be named type deal, right? Like they didn't want to say his name, which it kind of worked for me. Like,
and I get why she's afraid of him. It makes sense because he's a bad guy. But if the problem with her as a character is I understand everything about her except for this one motivation. The idea that she would hide the greatest threat to mankind from the only people that could possibly go back into
because
that realm.
Saw that, right? She saw what he did. You're 100% right.
Yeah,
Why the fuck
so
wouldn't
it makes
she
no
tell
sense
people
she
about
wouldn't
that?
tell everyone.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, now that we dealt with that world threat problem, let me tell you about this other thing that could be a problem in the future. So, you and the Avengers can work this out. She was like, I don't want to talk. It's too scary. Like, bro,
I think that
tell
scene
someone.
where she gets to see Kang like destroying timelines and whatnot, I think is a random nitpick. But in that scene, if he was just straight up like killing a Thor or murdering some dude in Iron Man's, like, do kind of like what they did in Multiverse, where he's just murdering countless Avengers, I think that would have added a lot of credence to like, oh shit, this guy's a fucking badass. Instead of just kind of referencing it like, are you the one with the hammer type deal? Like, it kind of, it would have been a little bit more impactful.
It opens up a lot of questions about the timelines and the past Avengers and all, like it. Yeah, I don't. Again, this is the inherent problem with Quantumania and Multiverse of Madness, and even in the comics or in anything, when multiple timelines show up,
it gets weird. Yeah,
it gets weird. It gets off the rails. It gets a little strange, and no one knows how to do it well yet.
Yeah.
He even actually mentions it. He says, like, she asks him a question. He says like, oh, yeah, I guess that, because he experiences time differently. He mentions it in a line. I'm trying to remember what the line is. But he basically lays out that, like, some of the stuff she's seeing, like, he doesn't experience time the way that she does.
Which I think is awesome.
He says once you let it out of the box, like, and that to me was, like, the perfect callback to the comics, because it sets up that, like, you might feel that this is the past, but really what's happening, like, in Timeless, it's for Kang, that is the present, and everywhere he goes is the present for him.
For him, yeah.
Because and he usually has a plan too of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to this time and kidnap this writer before he writes this mean article about me, and to him that's not the past, that's just the plan. And I love that they kind of tried to at least start to explain that so that they don't confuse the audience too much. But time travel is absolutely crazy. There's only one show I've seen that did it well, where they handled all of the paradoxes, in my opinion, well. And it was the 12 Monkeys show, not the movie, the show.
Where I was like, pretty good.
By the end, I was like, yeah. I was like, oh, this is a time travel movie that actually explained all the but I haven't seen it very often.
Have you seen Fringe?
I haven't seen Fringe.
Fringe does multiverse stuff in a decent way. They handle like a decent way. Also, Dark, the Netflix show. If you have not seen Dark, highly recommend Dark. But it also does it pretty well in like multiverse stuff.
Speaking of multiverse, second post-credit scene.
Yeah, that was maybe the best part of the film.
The second post-credit screen, I gasped because I did not actually realize how much I missed those two. Like
now, hold on. I need to ask. I have to ask.
Like, I gasped. I went, oh!
Like, did Owen Wilson just only say wow? And that, or am I making that up? What did Owen Wilson actually say?
No. They had a conversation about,
this is the guy that you're so scared of, like, because he looks like a fucking nerd.
Okay.
Jonathan Majors looks like a fucking nerd, and Owen Wilson is like, this is.
For some reason, I saw that film and I kind of paused for a second. Did Owen Wilson only say wow? But that's just me knowing Owen Wilson.
I love that scene because it's a great sort of in-between point from Loki season 1 and season 2, but also it like establishes those two characters, those two actors, their chemistry
they're really good.
Like I could watch them do
good.
They were on screen 30 seconds. I was like, God, I miss these guys. And then Jonathan Majors again, great actor, different kind of Kang, which again I was a little like
cool.
I kind of hoped that Kang, when before he talked, because once he talked, I was like, oh, this isn't our Kang. But I kind of hoped that was the Kang that got sucked in thing at the end, and he got sucked into like the early 1900s, late 1800s. I was like, oh, that'd be kind of fun. And he's trying to build a machine to get back, and then like, but no way they do that. So this is just another Kang variant. But like, all that shit was cool. I'm really excited for Loki season 2. I know that now, no matter what happens, those two are friends, at least in that reality. So that's kind of fun too. And it's a flip. now where Loki's character knows everything, and Owen Wilson's character doesn't get it yet.
Yeah.
So they flip season 1. Like, that's cool. I love that.
I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing. We had 2 post-credit scenes. One, I was like, this is ridiculously stupid. And one, I was like, that's the coolest shit. I'm so hype.
And
that's...
The first one sucks, dude, because this whole film, the entire marketing for this film was, all right, guys, here we go. We're setting up the new Thanos. This is going to be the fucking next big bad. You know, this is it right here. He's going to be in almost every major film for every show for the next couple of years. And then it's all leading to something big. There's going to be a huge fucking, Avenger level threat. They're going to have to get, and then
he gets sucked into a thing and he's gone.
And it just doesn't go anywhere. Like, it just kind of sucks.
Why not introduce Rama, Tut, and Moon Knight? I wanted that. I asked for that. Why introduce all 3 of them? Why introduce all the 3 of them at the same time? I wish they had introduced them all in different shows, and then the end credit, you just see them sitting together. You can't even hear them, so you can't even decide if their voices are bad or not. You just see them like together. If they had like taken the time to like actually introduce them,
they still could do
time.
That. They still could be like Rama Tut shows up in Moon Knight season 2, or they could have like a Shang-Chi 2 has what's his face in it.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you don't know who Rama Tut is, like, is that scene stupid? If you don't know?
Oh, if you don't know these characters, that's an incredibly stupid scene. I was in the theater with people that were like, what? Like, oh yeah, like, it's stupid as hell.
Is like, if you don't have context, you're just like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, it's goofy. It made me really think a lot about all the different post-credit scenes that involved Thanos and how they did so much with so little. Like, Thanos and it's totally different, right? You can only do that once. You can only do that type of like teasing once. So I get it, but man, I felt like we were on like step 10 when we just got step 1 and we never saw any of the like slow steps to building up who the fuck Kang is going to be in the future.
Literally every scene we had with Thanos, you're right. It was like a build up until finally there's just one moment where he goes, fine, I'll do it myself. And that was like, oh, let's go. He said nothing else in that scene. He literally just said, fine, I'll do it myself. And I was like, oh, that's totally missing from this. They took it to like the nth degree, and it's that constant need to escalate.
It was an escalation.
Like, well, there's 80 of them now.
I like and it makes me think a lot about also in Loki when they just like have all the Infinity Stones in the drawer. And you're like, oh, Thanos is a bitch, right? Why didn't they just have Kang fucking killing like Thanos like 20 different times or something? Literally show the difference in power or something between the... I feel like there's so many different ways. I don't know.
This movie had a lot of the like show, tell not show problem.
It did a lot, yeah.
They said he killed a bunch of Avengers. Multiple times they said it. But we have no evidence of this. We have no knowledge of this.
Yeah.
And the one Avenger he did fight, the one he mocked, beat the shit out of him. Even though he lost the fight, he still won the battle.
What's really interesting is like, I have been reading this comic called Sins of Sinister, and it's about Mr. Sinister.
Oh yeah, that's new.
And they handled this really well, where they're just like, I messed up a few times and there was some trial and error because he has Moira McTaggart to where he can basically reset the universe when he messes up, which is a hilarious twist on Kang. But they have him like in one reality, he's blasting Thanos through the brain, and another one he's like, but it's just a frame. It's just like really like, it took me some time to get it dialed in, guys. Yeah. But eventually I infiltrated the Quiet Council, and I feel like I'm like, oh, that's so cool because it just implies like, oh shit, like Mr. Sinister has pulled off some pretty bad things.
Yeah,
a Kang story would be better if it was done like Day After Tomorrow, whatever that movie is with Tom Cruise, where it's like he gamifies the system, where he like. Or Edge of Tomorrow, whatever that movie is.
Yeah,
Edge of Tomorrow.
That's what I was expecting was going to happen with the ants. Is he was going to be like overtaken, and then a portal was going to pop up, and he was going to walk through it, and somehow like know something or experienced it
Like the
already.
idea, Edge of Tomorrow is great because it's like he fails, he comes back, he fails, and it's the idea of like, okay, I'm learning, and I feel like that's what a Kang should be doing, where he's like, yeah, no, I lose. Like if they would have established that early on, they said when he talks about like loss and stuff, he's like, oh, they took something from me, you'll never understand loss. And if him as a character was like, Thanos is all about winning, Kang loses all the time, and that's what makes him so powerful. He's like the Edison of like he's lost 99 times, but he just needs that 100th time to get it right, And so like that vibe of like, bro, I know all about loss. You think you can beat me? I've lost to you like 20 times, but this is my like that kind of shit would be fascinating for a villain because like you can't beat a guy who has accepted loss as part of the job. Like that would be amazing.
Well, and it also gets kind of into like the downside of time travel, right? Like one thing I've always enjoyed about Kang comics is it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, which that's where it gets into very complicated to write, but very good if you can pull it off. But he does shit to himself because he has to go through that in order to become him.
Right.
But then he hates himself for it. And so there's like a version of him that that puts him in the Stone Age basically, and then kills the only friends he ever has. But then the version that you're reading the comic book POV from waits for him to come back and kills him, and the one that's dying is like, yes, this is what I always wanted. And you're like, what is going on?
There is,
but it's because he's like, you have to be the conqueror. I'm King. I'm gonna teach you. And so he does shit to himself.
There is a fantastic trope, and I can't remember what the trope is called, but it's when like the character purposefully has like multiple versions of themselves, and their whole premise is like we sacrifice and come up with terrible ways so we learn from it.
Yeah.
And so the last one who's left alive is like that's the one who's going to get everything right because he's been through literally every single possibility. He's trained for this moment. It's an anime trope, but it's like the hero at the end is like, I've seen every possible future. Like you think you can defeat me now? Like and he has all the speed and abilities because he's amazing now.
Let me ask you guys this: do you think, given that the general consensus, I think, of the film, outside of liking it or not liking it, is that Jonathan Majors as Kang was incredible?
Yes.
Absolutely. Do you think they give him his own film to explain more about him?
That's gonna be Kang Dynasty, dude. That's gonna be the
You think that's
like
where
how in Avengers?
But I'm saying like
Infinity
not a
War,
team
it
up
was
or anything.
about Thanos.
You don't think they give him his own film outright before any of that?
They
I would
should,
wager,
but that makes me think they won't.
Yeah,
I would wager that if they're smart, the Fantastic Four movie will be a movie that like is all about transcending time and universes and crazy shit, and we will see that Kang is the descendant of like a major player in the Marvel universe, which will like blow everyone's minds who don't know, and then you'll be like, oh shit, and then that will make sense and will explain going into the two Kang movies what's going on. That's the best way I can think they do that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a Kang movie as well.
If they do that though, and they introduce that character in the same film, I don't think it has that like oh shit drop, right?
Where else? Like, go look at the lineup. Where else do they introduce Kang again?
I 100% agree. Yeah. I mean, I think
like,
Kang
except for Loki season 2, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be in the Marvels.
I'm trying. We don't really know the threat, right? Like we have no idea what the threat is. I don't think he should be,
but I think he's going to be in the Marvels because you have 3 powerful heroes there, so you have to have like some kind of viable threat for them, I'm assuming.
Well, has that even like leaked out at like what that movie is about? Apart from what we know from Ms. Marvel's post-credit where they like swap places? It says, following the events of Ms. Marvel, they begin swapping places with each other every time they use their powers and must team up to figure out why. That's the premise of that movie.
And it's going to be multiverse stuff for sure. But like, if you look at what's going on, Secret Invasion is next. That's not going to be Kang. Guardians, not Kang. Echo,
No.
not Kang. Loki season 2,
No.
possibly Kang. Marvel's
Kang.
potential Kang. Ironheart, not Kang.
Maybe.
Agatha, not Kang.
Well,
X-Men 97 is animated. Captain America New World Order, not Kang. Daredevil, not Kang. Thunderbolts, not Kang. Deadpool, not Kang.
Deadpool
Spider-Man
could be
freshman
Kang.
year, not Kang. No.
Deadpool's
might
dealing
do a
with
Kang
multiverse.
joke.
I mean, well, maybe we'll see. I don't think it's
And
anything
then-
important of Kang for sure.
And then it's Avengers, Fantastic Four, and then the Avengers Secret War. And then after that, ends, and then
there's
it's
a
like,
bunch
okay,
of
we
projects.
may do.
Yeah, there's a bunch of projects they haven't said what they are yet, too. that
Yeah,
are
like
slated.
Shang-Chi's gonna fit in there somewhere. Shang-Chi 2, maybe. And then Armor Wars and Blade, but they aren't even on they're not on the docket yet. And then after that, everything else is past Avengers.
Hear me
So
out.
Kang's gone.
Yeah.
What if this isn't going to happen? But it would be cool if they did it. I just want to clarify this isn't a prediction. What if Ironheart was about Iron Lad's establishment? So we would have a new Iron Man by the time that Kang comes out, and Nathaniel Richards as facing off against Kang. We kind of cool because we don't have an Iron Man right now.
This is another bronze moment where we're gonna sit here and be like,
No.
good idea,
No.
never happening.
Cool,
Guys.
for Ironheart, and then it's
Ironheart-
the Iron Lad setup.
Ironheart is about magic.
That's stupid. It should be about Iron Lad.
Because
Because think about it, we don't have a suit that looks like that. That looks like the old Iron Man suit, unless it was Iron Lad, and then Kang would naturally come after Iron Lad because that's his whole thing. Is if you know you're gonna be a bad person, you do everything to stop yourself, but then Kang comes after him. So it would be a reason for those characters to be in that movie.
Ironheart is about her fighting Mephisto and shit like that. I'm not making that up. It's got the hood in it. The hood gets his powers from magic things, Dormammu and Mephisto. And,
I don't like this.
yeah, yeah. But it definitely makes you wonder, if Kang's the big bad, and now they're gonna exactly what Jesse said. There's maybe 4 properties where he's in it. Unless they do the thing where something happens in these films and no one can explain who or what did that, and then the post-credit scene is you see a fucking Kang arm come through a portal or some shit. He starts manipulating timelines. I don't know.
I'm now totally convinced.
Interesting. Yes, continue, Jesse.
Oh, we're not seeing Doom. We're not seeing Doom this entire next 2 phases.
I am now convinced of that as well, because how the hell this is such a weird time to introduce Mephisto unless it's going to be in House of Harkness. It's such a weird timing to introduce Mephisto.
I think everything right now is probably behind the scenes getting retooled because of the fact that they said they're going to slow the fuck down. I think they did so much shit in phase 4 that they're guys, we got to slow the fuck down.
If Doom and Kang do not fight at some point, the
What's
MCU
the point?
is
Why are we
ass,
doing this,
bro?
Why are we
the
doing
MCU
this?
is ass. It's shit. They need
Why are
to
we doing
fight.
this?
At some point, they need to go to one of these people and be like, "You're a dickhead, but we didn't kill you in 8 movies, so you could help us with this other dickhead." And that's, and then Doom and
the
Kang
thing
fight.
is you have to have the lead into that, right? You can't do that in one movie. That's a multi-movie lead up, and I don't know where that
they
starts.
make a lot of movies.
I don't know where that starts though, and what's
Yeah,
already on the slate.
But here's the problem. If you would have said to me 10 years ago, Jesse, how are they going to do Infinity War? I would have said, oh, well, the first thing they have to do is introduce Adam Warlock. That shit was
It's
not
true.
on the
They
docket
can
at
kind of
all.
do whatever they want. Yeah, we're
So-
purely coming from a canonical point of view.
Yeah, Adam Warlock is huge in the Infinity Saga, and he was not present at all. So, I mean, look, Doom should be there, but I have a feeling because you can't do Secret Wars without Doom. You can't do it, but they're gonna find a way. And I'm telling you, Doom's not showing up. He's just not going to be there. So I know it's heartbreaking. I know, but seeing what they're doing and seeing what we got and seeing they're going to slow it all down, which I'm here for. I hope they take the time to like nail it instead of pumping shit out. But also, it means we're not going to get characters that should be there. But we eventually do. We now have Adam Warlock showing up, and he's going to be a big part moving forward. So I might have to accept the fact that Doom is the Phase 7 and beyond big bad. But they're using up a really great Doom story for a Kang story, which is kind of like heartbreaking. But okay. No. Unless he shows up in Armor Wars or Thunderbolts or whatever, in which case, all right. But I don't know, man.
I mean, he could be trying to secure like the adamantium for. I'm blanking on his Latvia? No.
What is Bavaria?
Yeah, I forget what
whatever it's called.
Yeah,
it's fake.
Oh, it is fake. Yeah,
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's made up. But
it
would make sense why he's going after that because he sees like how powerful Wakanda is, and if they have the adamantium, then he can control, on a world stage. I could see that making sense. I don't think that's the case, but maybe. You never know.
It is weird the choices they're making when it comes to characters, but I also feel like they're no longer thinking movie to movie like they were before. In the first phase, second phase, it was like, we got it. All right, what's the next movie going to be?
Yeah.
Now they're thinking about like 20 years down the road, and that is a mistake. Because some of these movies, I think they're thinking it's like Moneyball. Go watch the movie Moneyball and then replace baseball players with Marvel movies. And they're like, look, we just need some hits. They don't all have to be good. And we just need everyone to get on base. So that when we get the runs in at the end, we're good. It feels like that, where they're just like gaming it.
It might have been that retreat they went on, right? That might have been why we had the scene that was apparently leaked from Black Panther 2 that did feature Doom in the post-credit scene was not there. Might have been why that thing at the end of Quantumania, where he's like looking out on the fucking world, and then the portal shows up behind him. Right? Like they might be changing the end of those films because of that whole thing. So I don't know. We do have one thing we got to do before we wrap this up though.
Oh God, no.
I can't wait for this.
No,
let's do it. Let's put it on there.
I can't do this.
We got to rank.
I can do this easily.
Quantumania. It's easy for Phase 5 because it's the only film.
The only one. Yeah. Simple.
But we do have
to
rank
it. When it comes to the overall, here's the thing.
You got to rank it against. Hold on, no. Jesse, you can't. I'm not letting you do it this time. Bronze. Where does this film go? You start the conversation.
Damn.
Me?
Where do we start the conversation with where this film goes? Jesse has historically decided the numbers, and we have agreed slowly. He's not kinging his way through this. It's Bronze starting this film. Where does it go?
It's number 22.
Pushing Thor, Love and Thunder down?
Yes, I totally agree.
For me.
Absolutely the right spot. Yeah. It is better than Ant-Man the Wasp, better than Thor, Love and Thunder, but worse than Iron Man 2. Agreed. 100%.
Iron Man 2 is a more enjoyable movie.
I'm going to put
and had more action in it, and it's more fun, and I like Hammer, and it had
I hate
a lot
Iron Man
going
2.
For it.
Totally agree. Totally. It's the exact spot I was going to say. Good call, Bronze. Good call.
Yeah, I don't hate Iron Man 2. I just think if I had to, right now, if you were like, you have to rewatch one of these movies, I'd be like, Iron Man 2.
Yeah, agreed. At least I'd have more fun being like, my bird. Where's my bird?
My bird. Yeah.
My bird. Yeah. Agreed.
Oh, God, that stretched out Modok face makes me want to put it even lower, though. I'm not going to lie. That face made me want to scream at the screen.
Did you laugh every time it showed up, regardless of why you were laughing?
No.
You didn't?
It looked so stupid. I was like, y'all put this in a movie?
I laughed every goddamn time it showed up because of how fucking dumb it looked. And I think that's maybe what they were going for.
Modok is quantitatively better than Screaming Goats. Any day of the week. All day.
True.
Every day. Screaming Goats suck ass.
True. Also, Love and Thunder had child soldiers. So yeah, okay. Yeah, no, you win. Modok is better than child soldiers.
I agree.
I'm looking at other films below it, and I think some of those films are better, but then I'm looking at films above it, and I think it's a better film than those. So I think it's coming into this idea where I'm like, God, this list is terrible. So I really have to think about this.
But hey, we go back and we readjust, and we went back and
annually.
we readjusted once before.
We do it annually. It's the annual readjustment. It happens every, the second annual readjustment will happen this next January.
So, I think we put it where I agree with Bronze completely. That's exactly what I was going to say. It is better than Thor Love and Thunder. But you know what? Thor Love and Thunder and Ant-Man have the exact same problem. The villain, spectacular.
It was the best show.
The rest of the movie
best part of the
does
show,
not live up to what the villain is.
Yeah. That's my thing too.
Dude, what's going to happen? Random tangent here while I'm still thinking about the ranking and how to formulate what I want to say. What happens when you get Kang and Namor on the same screen?
Hopefully Namor's like, bro, you're really cool. We should be best buds. Because I would love to see they stole movies.
They kiss. I don't know if you know this. I've written that movie and they kiss.
Oh, that's how that goes down?
Yeah.
Sounds great. Mm-hmm. Sounds like a great film.
Just sold the ticket to Jesse.
Yeah.
Here's the issue with the ranking. I'm having a hard time thinking that it was that easy and agreeing that Bronze is right.
It's that easy. She's absolutely correct.
That's your only issue is that it's too easy?
Yeah.
To agree with you, yes. That's very scary.
I mean,
I'm typically very negative.
No, it's not negative. It's not the idea that I don't want to be negative or that I think you're negative all the time, because I don't. It's just you said a number and we're all like, yeah, okay, done. Pack it up. We're good.
It fits exactly. Like in my mind, I was like, I think it's better than Ant-Man and the Wasp. Ant-Man and the Wasp. I fell asleep during that movie, but I don't think it's like a great film. And then if you look at where it's at, it's above Thor Love and Thunder and Ant-Man the Wasp.
Mm-hmm.
It qualifies as everything that I need.
Mm-hmm. It's better than Iron Man 3.
Ant-Man.
I'll say that. It's better than Captain Marvel. Yeah, I'll say that. Better than Black Widow. Yeah.
I think it could go up a couple spots, if anything, but that's just it doesn't necessarily do anything moving up a couple
If you go
spots.
by what Braun said, I would watch Iron Man 2. I still think Age of Ultron might be too high. Far From Home, I'd watch more of.
Yeah, Age of Ultron is a little high.
I don't think it is.
I think Age of Ultron got put that high because we all agreed that it was important. It was like the most important movie from the phase.
And I think we've, I don't know why we have it that high. But like, honestly,
I hated that movie.
As you go up the list, I can understand why things are where they're at. Like why we enjoyed it for what we enjoyed it for. Right? Like, okay, yeah, I get that. This one I think it is exactly where it needs to be. Like we were talking about at the beginning, JP. It's not a good movie, but I enjoyed it like when I watch a bad Nick Cage movie where I'm like, I had fun. That was a lot of fun. And there's a lot in this movie that I think is brilliant, and I think Kang is amazing, but the overall product is like, yeah, that's the bottom third of Marvel for sure.
Yeah, I'm okay leaving it there. I think that a lot of times when we rank this stuff, the test of time is always important. And like looking back on it a year from now, what are we going to think? And so with that in mind, we can leave it there. We leave it 22.
There may be a moment where we're like, damn, that movie really had a lot to do with the future of the MCU. And it was very important. And looking back, it was like way better than we thought. But also, could be Eternals. You know what I mean? Like it could go down further where we're like, did they just forget about this movie?
I think like with Eternals, the thing too is that sometimes the visual spectacle or the, like you enjoy the artistry of something or you enjoy what they tried to do with something. Cause you come into movies with like a certain amount of excitement. And then when you go back and rewatch it with that sort of veneer removed, you're like, oh, this is not good. And that's happened to me a few times with Marvel movies where I'm like, oh, that was fun. Like Captain Marvel. When I first watched it, I was like, oh, that was fun. And now I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, I think, as you're mentioning all these, I'm realizing, and this is a really weird realization, I'm realizing it's been about 5 years since I've watched all these movies in like chronological order.
Honestly,
I think it might be time for me to do that again.
I think as we hit the point where there's a lull in content, rather than watching new shows, for this list specifically, I think we should go back and be like, all right, this week we're watching the original Thor.
Because we haven't had episodes where we've discussed them at length. You're 100% right.
No.
Or like, we're going to go watch The Incredible Hulk. Maybe we hate The Incredible Hulk because it was the first thing we saw, and it is totally, like, it's insane, but maybe it's better than some of the movies on here. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's literally been 10 plus years since I've seen Incredible Hulk.
I watched Captain America: The First Avenger. I've said this so many times on the show in the past.
I love that movie.
3 months. I think it's better than 14. Having watched it, maybe this is the thing. We start watching. This shit again.
I love that movie,
and we do like episode reviews.
That's a movie that's on the flip side for me. Like Shang-Chi, when it came out, I was like, oh.
I would love to rewatch that film. I have not rewatched it.
Yeah, I haven't rewatched it. I'm not saying it's bad.
No,
I'm
I just
saying,
haven't seen it again.
When it came out, it was like in my top 10. Like I was like, oh my God, this is so good.
I think we have to do a MCU rewatch crew where we make a second, like another list. We start from the bottom and work our way up and reorder based on what we watch. So we start with like,
I think we have to do it chronological.
I think we start with the ones that we think suck first, because I think having a view of what we think is terrible, and then like work our way up to what we thought was amazing might change our perspective on what we think is terrible.
Do you think we should do the ranking in reverse order? Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm saying we make a second list. Make a second list, but start on this list at the bottom, and then the second list we like, okay, so Incredible Hulk, and then we'd watch whatever the next, maybe Thor 2, whatever the next one is, and so now we have a new list that's Incredible Hulk, and we do Incredible Hulk then Eternals. So we compare: is Incredible Hulk better or worse than Eternals? And then we watch Thor: Dark World. I
see what you're saying.
And now is Eternals better or worse than Thor: Dark World? And so now we have a smaller list, and we're watching from the worst up, and so it like can change the perspective because we're not being clouded by the shit we love, right? We're not like, this is up here with this thing.
I have no skin in the game with Thor, so I'll look at it objectively versus like
it would definitely be
Spider-Man Homecoming. I know that I'm the reason it's that high on the list because both of y'all were like, it shouldn't be that high, and I was like, no, Spider-Man Homecoming is so good.
You did push for that.
That was me. I did because I love that movie.
Here's the thing.
Thor, I can't say I'm gonna fight that is hard for Thor.
Here's the thing. If we do that, we're going to have a cardinal sin committed. We're going to watch Endgame before Infinity War. You can't do that.
That might be the thing we need. Think about it. Because everyone watches Infinity War first, and it's very good. And then they watch Endgame, which is good. But is it Infinity War good? Well, if you watch in reverse, maybe there's like, I'm watching this just to watch it, not because it follows another movie.
It's a really weird, like it's very weird way to think about it, but it might be an interesting way to rewatch this.
Yeah, I mean, we might say like, Eternals is bad, but holy shit, the last half of Black Widow is embarrassing, and it needs to be further down, right? Or maybe the first half of Black Widow is so good. Maybe we bump it up.
Here's the next question.
That's never happening, but like maybe.
Here's the next question. And it's peeling back the curtain a little bit for chat. We had this conversation with this announcement that they're slowing down Marvel releases, that we wouldn't have fucking content for this show.
Yeah.
Do we watch this stuff live on air with people watching along?
Yo. That would be fire. I would have a fun time, but we would have to again, we'd have to
we
like
can't stream the content. They would have to watch it alongside
right.
us, like we did with.
Wow. People really quickly were like, yes.
Yeah, no, I think they'd be into it. We could do it every Monday night. I think that might be kind of fun. It creates a lexicon for, us moving forward when it's like, hey, you guys never reviewed X movie because the show started. Well, now we could just say, go watch episode blah, where we watch the movie and you can hear our real thoughts. And then after the film is over, we break the VOD up and we have a review. Or we stretch that out. And so this one week we watch the film, the next week we talk about it. It's easy content.
I mean, everyone seems to be
it's no homework
and chat about
and
it.
it's no homework.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love not having homework.
And I love watching Marvel films. It's one of my favorite things.
I don't get paid for the show. I don't want to do homework.
Yeah. Look, I get it. So I guess the next question I have for you guys.
Normally, I don't care that I don't get paid until the time we watched fucking Iron Fist. Then I was like, I should get paid. Every week was torture. Every week.
Look, Bronze,
look, the wrap up Modok.
I'm sorry
right?
to say. I'm sorry, Bronze. I'm sorry. But you
So
will
many
have to watch.
episodes.
You'll have to watch Fantastic.
There were so many episodes.
You're going to have to watch Fantastic
We have to wrap
Four.
up Modok, but like, we can talk about Modok real quick because it's not long.
I have not watched the
not going
final two
anywhere.
episodes yet. That is why I suggested. So we could do that
But
next
we
week.
could, like, say, next week, tune in while we watch The Incredible Hulk. Like, that could be a thing that we do.
That could be a thing.
I don't know if I'm ready for that, man. I've seen that movie recently in the past 5 years.
I haven't.
Well,
we can start somewhere else if it'll make you happy. But
I haven't seen that.
I haven't watched that movie in over a decade.
Yeah, same. I haven't seen that movie in a long ass time. Do you like? Okay,
I think we might. I think that
crazy?
might happen.
I suggested Modok just as a fun thing before Quantumania. And Modok has a joke about what his butt looks like. And Quantumania was like,
they answered it, man. I think that was a great. I think watching Modok honestly was great because it gave me context for the film. But then
he put a fake ass on himself, and they just
they showed you his little tiny butt, dude. His little tiny butt with his little tiny legs. It was unnecessary. It wasn't like a laugh moment. It was just like, wait, what?
That happened. Jesse, that happened. That happened. They showed his butt that's this big.
This is the same movie. This is the same movie where Jonathan Majors was like, I have seen the future. Like, this man is like acting his ass off and then butt. You're like, bro. This is a problem. We need to have like a Kevin sit down because tonally, Marvel movies are all over the place. As the last few movies, I don't know what the hell. They're like trying to be like funny and serious at the same time.
Too.
Yeah.
The shows are too. I remember I was like in love with She-Hulk, and then they have this like probably, like I said, one of the saddest, darkest scenes I've seen in MCU anything, where she runs out of her own, or she freaks out while accepting that award.
Revenge porn. They revenge porn her.
My heart and my stomach was like, because I felt so much secondhand embarrassment for her, where I was like, I was physically uncomfortable because it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch somebody go through something like that,
Yeah.
And then it goes right back to the jokes. And you're like, I just saw Jen Walters go through an actual nightmare, and now you're joking about the Kevin bot. And I don't know what to do with this because we just saw something that was like so hard to watch, And yes, this problem you're right, Jesse. This problem has been consistent across a lot of the movies. And it's like even, Love and Thunder, cancer joke. And you're like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And we talked about that. Like,
it can be done. Guardians of the Galaxy, the first movie, is a great example. You have arguably one of the saddest fucking scenes from the MCU at the very beginning of that movie, a little kid watching his mom die.
Ooh.
It is like I actually fast forward that part because it's a lot. It's very fucking sad, and somehow that movie still gets 30 laughs out of you. It can be done.
That's James Gunn for you right there.
Yeah, but what has happened lately is not that.
It takes it's an art, right? Like it's not something that every director can do, and I think that Marvel's like realizing that in a lot of ways. And it's funny because I would say this was the opposite for, I think I did say this was the opposite for Thor, Love and Thunder, where with like Thor, Love and Thunder, they let Taika go too far. And I felt like this film was, hey, we're going to give you a, Avengers level threat and like give you some real skin in the game for Ant-Man, but it's going to be designed by committee. And you're going to have to put some shit in there and it might clash with some things that you want to do. And I would really wonder, like, if you look at the first two Ant-Man films, same director, they're completely different fucking films. I mean, they're as like stark as I think like Thor and Thor 2, or sorry, Thor 1 and Thor 2 when it is to Thor 3. Like it is, it's all over the place.
I man, I gotta know.
You seeing if the writers are the same?
I want to know what episodes the guy who wrote Rick and Morty episodes, which ones he wrote and then wrote this movie. Because I feel like he was probably, if he wrote the Council of Ricks, was he brought on because someone at Marvel was like, oh, this guy can handle multiple realities.
The writer stuff is weird because like the writer for Thor, The Dark World, Thor 2 was also the writer for like Infinity War and like Winter Soldier. So like writing doesn't, I mean, it's all, at that point, it's like direction is where the issue comes up. Or there's so many different levels.
When you talk about committee, committee, I'm sure someone at Marvel saw Rick and Morty and was like, oh, if they can pull it off there, if we can get the guy who wrote that to come write our thing, he'll pull it off with us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
And so that's why I'm curious if that's what they thought they were getting. And then you add a director, and now you have to like live action that. And as Bronze was saying earlier, you can't live action some of this stuff. It just looks goofy.
Yeah, even the entire like, I can see the parallels between the stories and why they would think bringing on a Rick and Morty character would help them, or writer would help them, because like there is Rick and Morty, you could tell is heavily inspired by comic books because that's like the entire arc of the seasons is like, oh, Rick and Morty are together in every single reality that Rick has allowed. And so there's one Morty that's trying to break the curve and escape, And so with that in mind, it's like, oh, it's a little similar with that idea of like, this is one Kang that's trying to break the curve or kind of like fix it.
Yeah.
Even if that involves genociding multiple timelines.
Sure. Yeah, sorry, I was looking up because Jesse started talking about all the writers. I guess
Michael Waldron, who did Loki, wrote one episode of Rick and Morty, but I only know him because he worked on the show that we did. So, like, other than that, he kind of was just like a background wheeler dealer in Hollywood. It's definitely a case of like who knows who, but Loki was great. So the disparity between him writing Loki and the things I didn't like because he also wrote Multiverse of Madness, writing can be hit or miss. And sure. I'm sure there were edits and changes and stuff. So,
writing can be hit or miss. And I really liked certain parts of this movie, but like, I really wanted the entire time for there to be like, you a character called Ant-Man. There's been jokes about him going into Thanos' butt and exploding and all this stuff, right? And killing him from the inside. I really wanted to see him break some of Kang's stuff. Like I really wanted him to like, oh, Kang is using this. Cause like an ant or a little Ant-Man could wreak havoc on a gun or a repulsor or whatever you're using. And so I was like, yeah, he can't beat Kang, but he might be able to break a few of his toys. And like the fact that we never got that. And I feel like that was such a mainstay of the other Ant-Man movies where he gets small and goes into something. Kind of like Iron Man, you always see the inside the helmet view and you always see like, there's like certain things. I was like, to me, that was always been a little bit of Ant-Man's flavor. Like, yeah, it's fun to see him get big, but I always think it's more fun to see him get like super small and
Tiny.
like I was like,
Yeah.
I wanted to see him break some of Kang's shit. And I wanted Kang to be like annoyed, be like, this stupid little fucking ant bitch, like because he's a tech guy. I'm sad we didn't get to see that.
Yeah.
Like getting a speck of dust in your tower. The dust can't kill you, but you're still annoyed by it.
It is like when you think about it, it is strange that if he just went microscopic small through the force field and then became giant.
Oh, we didn't talk about that scene
complex,
at all.
The end.
We didn't talk about the whole prediction thing where there's just 1 billion Scotts or 1 billion Ant-Mans. And maybe the stupidest thing in this film is the Baskin-Robbins goof in that moment.
That comes back to where I said they make a joke in one scene and then they have to live with it.
Of like all the things that I was upset about in that whole like probability storm thing, every time that Baskin-Robbins shows up, I'm just like, why the fuck?
Let me just stress
that's a Rick and Morty episode too.
I'm sure.
Let me just stress to you really quickly, just like put it out there as they made that giant tower of Ant-Men. That Baskin-Robbins dude fell to his death.
No, they all did. Yeah. They all disappeared as well. Yeah.
No, but I'm saying like he was like, go get him, buddy, and he fell to his death. Like that dude died, bro.
I mean, they all
and they played it for a joke. And I was like, well, the thing was missing. There was no Luis. His gang wasn't there. They're comedy gold. I thought for sure one of the post-credit scenes would have been him. Yeah, he's the straight man to their goofs. Yeah. And they were not present. So everything else became a goof.
I just can't. The Baskin-Robbins things, it kept circling back to me even after that scene was long gone, because it's just like, why the fuck is he there in a different outfit as a Baskin-Robbins dude in this probability storm?
Yeah.
Like
I also feel like they didn't explain the probability storm correctly. And that's actually a place where I feel like Rick and Morty did it better. And it explains like why Hope in that scene fares better than him, because it's about certainty. It's about like, no matter what the reality is, I walk forward and I shoot this thing. But every time he questions himself, he creates a version of himself that doesn't do that. And then he creates a version of himself that shoots himself, or he creates a version of himself that, so every decision he makes is creating another probability storm, right? But and the reason that she's fine is because she's like
sure of herself.
I got my eyes on him and I'm gonna save him. So every version of me
to that point
is gonna save him. Yeah. So
it's
supposed to be this beautiful moment, but then they have Baskin-Robbins dude in there.
I love the scene except for Baskin-Robbins guy.
Because even that, where it's like, oh, well, no matter what the reality is, he cares about Cassie enough that like they form in on that. But like, I'm not going to lie, for me, it was seeing him fail that I was like, but isn't that the whole, he throws the repulsor and then it just doesn't, or the little thing, it just doesn't work. And I was like, so like, what was the, like, shouldn't there be like some, I don't know. It just felt weird that like it doesn't do anything and then she saves him and then he does the exact same thing.
No, I'm right there with you.
And I understand like the Baskin-Robbins bit, I get the callback, right? Like I get it.
Oh no, I get the point. It's just fucking weird. No, why would he be in a Baskin-Robbins outfit in that thing?
Like, why would he be in that moment? Because the guy's like, I don't know why I'm here. The question would be, he isn't just pulled from a reality. He's supposed to be an alternate choice made by the first
exact
Scott.
moment. Yeah.
So
it's not like he turns to serve ice cream to someone else in there. Is a moment. Yeah. It's very strange.
Yeah. It doesn't. It's literally a goof played for a goof that makes no sense.
Also, it falls into the same thing as the first post-credit scene of it's a bunch of Paul Rudds acting with other Paul Rudds, but the scene works a little bit better because he's not doing a weird voice.
Right, it's just Paul Rudd being like if the Kangs were all Kang, and no matter how they were dressed, they still talked like Kang. That would have been a better, like, again, going back to Moon Knight. Moon Knight is good because it's just two guys talking. And sure, he's putting on an accent for one of the characters, but it's only one accent versus normal talking.
Yeah.
Once you start to add, because we already had normal Kang, so the 3 new Kangs we see have to be accents because they're not normal Kang, apparently. So that's the, like, there's a way to do it. He Who Remains was normal Kang, except he was like giddy and excited. If they would have had the 3 new Kangs be the same Kang, except they look different, then all right, I'm fine with that. But then someone would have complained, like, they didn't, like, why does he sound like, it was no winning because that scene's goofy. There's no winning with that scene.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Did anyone else think that maybe in the end scene he wasn't in the right reality?
Who?
Because it really struck me.
Oh,
Scott,
Ant-Man?
because
Yeah.
it really struck me that his coffee was something. It was ridiculous. I remember it like stuck out in my mind because he gets coffee.
It's a different
the
coffee
guy's-
order? Or are you talking about where the guy doesn't recognize him as Spider-Man?
You're right.
It's that guy, but it's like $24.
that.
Like the amount he pays for coffee is actually bad shit insane. And I was like, and he even says, he goes, whoa, and he takes out his wallet. And I was like, wait, but why is coffee fucking? It was, I forget the exact amount, but I remember being like, there's no coffee.
It was $14.
Well-
$14. I was like, there's no coffee that's $14.
Wasn't that a joke about inflation or some shit?
It was definitely a joke. It was played for a joke. But the thing that I think was interesting that I was with you when he came back through that portal, and then it started over at the beginning of the movie, and then he hits that moment of like, well, everything's gonna be fine, right? In my mind, I was like, oh shit.
He's in a different reality.
Because what happens is when he says everything's gonna be fine, the camera pans to people on the street. And in that moment, I was like, oh my God, are we going to see like he's in a different reality? Holy I was ready for it. No. And then he just goes on his way. And I was like, oh, come on.
Right? Like he might be in
that's
another
copium.
Never
That's
happening.
copium, Bronze. That's copium.
Then why go out of the way to be like the coffee's $12?
Because it's San Francisco. And
Because it's a joke about San Francisco.
Yeah. And the fact
he got
that
free coffee in the beginning of the movie. They're like, it's on us, Spider-Man.
It's a callback.
Which, by the way, I love that actor. I don't care. But like, it's just a callback goof.
And
where they like bookended it. And I hate that bookend.
And I think the everyone's talking about the cake tasting bad. I think that's a double thing. One, it's a bad tasting cake because the Baskin-Robbins boss made the cake for him, and that's why it's bad. And two, it's also talking. There's some sense of a metaphor. This is kind of reaching, but there's some sense of a metaphor of like everything seeming good, but then it's actually bad. It's kind of what happened in the movie, where like everything seems good at this point, but Kang said it's going to get fucking bad real soon in the future, and so
that's exactly right. It's
because now I'm like
they had to the mic.
they had a moment. Sorry, they had a moment that I thought could have been really cool. What if they instead had him go buy coffee, and the coffee was like 30 cents, and they'd gone into the past or something? You know?
Yeah,
like
no, they could have done some
like
cool stuff there at the end. I'd agree.
They could have done anything better.
What if they just said that'll be 7 Zorb glops? He goes, what the fuck is a Zorb glop?
If he would have said, I'll have a small coffee, and the guy was like, what's that?
Yeah.
That would have been better than what we got.
Or he walks outside and people have like, I don't know, shoes on their hands.
6
and
fingers.
Yeah, like some weird fucking crazy shit. They
could have been dope.
It's just different.
Yeah. They could have done
Or if he
some
walks
cool
down the
stuff.
street and he's all happy and it's like no one recognizes him as Ant-Man. You know, like literally anything else would have been better than just like, I wonder if we actually made things worse. Oh, well, I hated that.
I want to see a
So
supercut or a edit where it's like where he has the panic attack and then it just cuts to the close up of the Kang at the end who's just screaming in the audience and then the film ends.
And then it's like, wake me up.
How do we know?
Sure, yeah. Throw some Evanescence in there. Why not?
We don't know that he's. We don't know that he's in his correct
We do.
timeline. We have no.
We do because it's Marvel and they wouldn't do anything crazy. That's why.
You are always on bronze. You're in the Bronze Age. You have better ideas then they're going to have, and they will not produce those. So I've learned when you say something, I know it's incorrect because it's a better idea.
Because,
Yes.
like, in my mind, I'm like, what if they go back to pre-blip and then they have, like, this time together, but then they have to convince all the other Avengers that it's going to happen, and also they can use Thanos to fight Kang.
You're talking, it's too
Never
much.
happening, but it sounds really cool.
It'd be cool. Yeah.
Yep.
I think to culminate everything about Quantumania, the best way to do it, Bronzy just sparked it, and Jesse as well. I just want some motherfucking risk. Like, I want someone to have things happen that change the course of their character for the remainder or the near future or whatever. Like, just give me some risk. And I didn't get any of this. Like, what is the purpose of this film so that when he shows up again, Ant-Man can show up and say, like, yeah, I know who this is. It's Kang. Here's a whole bunch of backstory.
Yes.
But does that mean that Paul Rudd is going to show up in the Marvels, or like?
It doesn't need to be Paul Rudd,
or is Loki
Cassie?
Is Loki the through line for all of this? Is he the one that shows up as the good guy and Kang is the bad guy that goes through everything? That'd be kind of cool.
Boy, Loki is if Loki does show up, it's only going to be in the Avengers movie. There is no way Loki shows up and just it's just not going to happen. However, I would love to see a Loki Thor reunion if they did that.
That'd be a huge fucking deal if they did that.
Yeah, but again, that's stuff where it's like wishful thinking. You know, it seems to me like Loki is relegated to TV now.
It also wouldn't be that much of a payoff, right? Because they would just be like, "Oh, well, you're not my Loki. You're a different Thor. You're a different multiversal Loki." Blah 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 blah.
But I feel like Thor is so chill. He'd just be like, "Bro, I'm so happy," and then you could have like a goof about the tattoo on Thor's back, and there's like so much stuff there. But
true. I don't know. I don't think Loki's
now.
I don't think Loki is a TV character because he was in the film. He was a post-credit thing in the film.
To advertise the TV show, season 2.
Totally for advertising, but that doesn't discredit the fact that he was in the film. Regardless, he's in the film. And it plays up their potential importance.
I mean, there are no rules anymore.
Yeah.
The MCU is whatever. It's like we're just sitting here waiting for them to do a thing that makes okay, now it's worth being heavily invested in this. Like, I like Kang. I was ready for I can't wait to see what Kang does next. Bro, they sent him to the Void Zone. He's gone.
So the
next Kang that was awesome is gone, and now we have the Kang that's like, I can't help but want to defeat Kurt Russell. It doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter anymore. We don't have Kang anymore. It's like 15 other guys.
No, that's okay. I thought I was pulling. What is that guy's name? I thought it was Lao Kang, but that's not it.
No, that's Big Trouble in Little China Kang. I'm telling you, looks exactly like the dude.
Yeah, but what is the boss?
Big Trouble in Little China Kang.
Oh, it's what is that guy's name
Russell?
From Big Trouble? What's his name? Lo Pan. It's Lo
Pan. Yeah, Lo Kang.
Lo Pan.
That's Lo Kang.
Do you know what we're talking about, Bronze? Have you seen that film?
Lo Pan, Lo Kang.
Yes.
Have you ever seen Big Trouble? That movie's amazing.
I only watched it recently, but I thought it was great.
Because holy shit, that is literally the guy at the end of the movie.
It is him.
Like, what the fuck?
It is him. Lo Pan. Yeah, that's his name.
You're not fucking. Goddamn. You're not wrong.
They didn't even try to hide it, dude. I laughed so hard when I saw that. I was like, that is the dude. Yeah. That's my good friend, Jack, whatever his name once told me. Yeah, I love that movie. That's a goofy-ass movie. Now that's a goofy-ass movie. That's zany, as the kids say.
What is the next Marvel thing? Is it Guardians? Or do we get... So it's Guardians and Loki is this summer? I think that's how that plays out. Okay.
I don't know.
Gonna be kind of weird to go from this to Guardians, like kind of a little bit of whiplash. This whole like we're setting up the rest of Phase 5, but first we're gonna give James Gunn his like farewell before he goes and leads the DCU.
Guardians is May, Loki is summer, Marvels is November, and then we have a What If potentially, but I don't think we're getting.
Well, there's a not Secret Wars, but Secret Invasion, right? At some point.
Secret Invasion is late 2023, whatever that means.
Okay, so that'll probably be like a fall thing.
Jack Burton, that's who it is. My good friend Jack Burton once told me. Yeah, love that movie.
Yeah, I agree with what we said earlier. Then I don't think we see Kang for a year.
Yeah, I guess
we see Kang this summer. That's it. We'll see Kang this summer.
We'll see post-credit Kang in probably something.
I feel like it'll be Kang of the Week for Loki, where they're just like going to different gangs. I feel like that'd be kind of
That would be fun. Admittedly, watching Jonathan Majors play a different Kang every week instead of a bunch of Kangs
fun,
together would be kind of fun.
Yeah. Especially if they do like Kang of the Week and then there's a Moon Knight because it's like they go to that Kang. Like they could do Loki could be fun.
Be fun.
They could they have shown that they don't give a fuck about the rules with Loki, and so that makes me excited for that show. Because they can bend rules with him, and they've done it before. So, yeah. And then again, with Guardians, I feel like that's just going to be Guardians are leaving. They're sad. We're moving on to the next thing. Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now, and it looks like I might have had it reversed. It looks like Secret Invasion is summer, and Loki is late 2023.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right. Well,
whatever. That's what we're getting this year. We're getting 2 movies, 2 shows. That's it.
Yeah. Makes sense. Anyways, let's call it a show.
Wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. Let's do the thing. We'll talk Modok next week. It's a short show. Sure. Do we want to watch The Incredible Hulk? How long is that movie?
I don't know. It's 2 hours.
It is 1 hour, 52
minutes with
minutes.
credits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could, I mean, that's up to y'all. That's up to y'all. I feel like next week's episode, like podcast wise, will probably be like 20 or 30. Well, probably 20 or 30 minutes on Modok. We'll do a little bit of news, maybe round it out to an hour. So that'd be a 3-hour thing. That's up to y'all if y'all want to commit that. Or we can wait a week, do an hour next week, and then do 2 hours after that, the week after.
Whatever works. I'll be here.
Bronze, you got an opinion?
This is 3-hour show right here, man. We just did one.
That is true. All right, next week we're going to talk. We'll talk final 2 episodes of Modok, and then we're watching The Incredible Hulk. You can get it via Hulu Premium sub, Prime Video Premium sub, or should we just watch it all on Disney Plus?
I always think Disney Plus.
Disney Plus.
A lot of people in the audience already have it to watch all the shows anyway. So
yeah. We could. I might put out a poll on the MCU Twitter maybe to see like what service people would prefer to watch things on. It'd probably be Disney Plus though. We might just be able to make that rule.
Okay.
I'll figure it out. Real quick before we do shout outs, I think if you're listening to this episode, you will probably have already heard ads. We have ads in our podcast. If you watch them on YouTube, you already have ads, but the podcast version is going to start having some ads in it. Please give us some feedback on those. You can tweet at us individually on all 3 of our Twitters, or you can tweet MCU Crew. Let us know if they're, crazy, too much, too little. I don't know. We have a very small test audience with Last Call for Adventure with myself and Bronze, and Jesse's been on there as well. And everyone said fine things about those ads, that they're not too crazy. But this will be this and Drop Frames will be kind of a bigger test. So those ads should be playing once we wrap up here. Let us know what you think. Give us that feedback. And if we got like crypto ads or something, tell us, because we don't want crypto ads on this shit. We just need to be able to know what's going on and know what you guys are listening to.
She's a scam.
What? Huh?
Is talking about
What accent was that?
nothing.
What was that?
What was that?
Hmm?
Bronze?
What
It
accent
was
that?
my Modok. It was my Modok accent.
Right. Modok.
No.
Sorry. I think I'm keeping that as a goof. I think I'm keeping that as a goof. I think it's a
Oh
goof, though.
no!
It'd be great.
Get a
You need to
helmet
like
overlay
fill out the
too,
outside and put
then.
like a little helmet on it.
Yeah, you need a
overlay.
helmet overlay. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. I'll work on it. It's never happening.
Put a little
I know you
butt-
will.
It's never gonna happen.
Put a little butt back there too.
I don't know what you're talking about, Bronze. All right. There's nothing little. What do you do? We haven't done shout outs, Jen. We got Bronze. What do you got going on?
I'm waving goodbye.
No, stop.
Bye,
it.
everybody.
Hello, friends.
You know how this outro goes.
This week on Bagged and Boarded, my comic book show, we talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the number one singles I read through. We talked about Trigun Stampede. Is it called Stampede? I think so. Stuff like that. So come by. It'll be on YouTube soon, as well as available in podcast format. Everything goes to Patreon first, and the podcast is Patreon only, and it's edited. Usually clocks in a little bit under 40 minutes. You can check it out there. I'm DMing Last Call for Adventure this Wednesday, so come check that out. Yeah, I think that's it. My eyes are really itchy. My eczema's flaring up, so it's been really hard to do the show while wanting to rub my eyes every 3 seconds. Which probably makes it look like I'm really annoyed.
Fantastic. Jesse Cox, do some
Bye, everybody.
This is
Bye.
rambling.
Well, good night. Have a good night.
Why
We love
is
you. Thanks for watching. You're the best.
Why are you
That's
so
it.
See y'all next time,
Stop moving
everybody.
your-
Bye. Bye. Hey, goodbye, everybody.
Jesse.
Goodbye.
Stop moving your hands that quick. It's framey. Everything looks framey. Stop it. Guys, there's only one way this show ends. And I'm sad that you guys haven't caught on. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll be back next week. We're watching The Incredible Hulk. We're out of here. Have a good one. Bye.